everybody. Well, we said we'd do it last Sunday, but issues prevented that, so we are back tonight doing the second half of the 80s cartoon stream. So, to anyone listening out there, thanks for joining us. And with me again tonight is Mike.
Yo, what up?
Jay.
Hello.
Prime.
Good evening.
And Snarb.
Here for a limited time only.
Yep.
Oh, man.
So we're not
Get
going
it while it's hot.
Exactly. So I don't think we're going to waste any time tonight. We're just going to pick up where we left off. So in this case, Snarb, you are up next.
Yes, I am up next. So my second choice for this stream was a cartoon known as Dino Saucers. It kind of quietly appeared and then disappeared into syndication hell. And there's kind of a good reason for that. But before I get into that, the basic premise of the series is it's an action team cartoon. Not unlike G.I. Joe, Transformers, Thundercats, any of those kind of shows. But the gimmick here is that it's about dinosaurs from outer space, from a counter-Earth, orbiting on the opposite side of the sun called Reptilon. And for some reason, they stop by. They meet the good dinosaurs meet some kids and turn them into what are known as Secret Scouts. They basically get fancy Captain Planet rings long before Captain Planet, or at least half a decade or so. And then I guess the bad dinosaurs follow them. I don't remember what the good dinosaur team is called. I know the bad team is called the Tyrannos, and yeah, it's basically action team shenanigans from there.
The good guys are just called the Dino Saucers, hence.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, they are just called the Dino Saucers. They're called that, I guess, because they're dinosaurs and flying saucers. In fact, they visit the Earth in like a pterodactyl-shaped one, and then the bad dinosaurs have it's like a T-Rex ship. And one of the confusing things about this series is that it's not based off of a toy line. It is actually funded by, was Coca-Cola Productions. Every time I see that in the credits, I crack up because it's like, Coca-Cola, what are you doing? Go home. You're drunk. Also, hey, Mo.
And hey there, Mo.
Yes, yes.
Hey, Mo, how's it going?
This was about the start of Dino Mania. Like, this was before Jurassic Park, but it was picking up in the 80s because I remember owning those little rubber dinosaur toys up until, Jurassic Park came out. Or actually, I think before that was Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. I forget exactly when that came out, but I owned a couple toys from that. But in any case, this show was not based off of a toy line, even though there's a lot of toyetic stuff in the show, including the main characters themselves.
Hey, Sharon. I see you made it.
Hi, Sharon.
Yeah,
Hi,
hey, Sharon.
What's up?
Good to see you and Mo in chat.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, Snarb, speaking of which, you were talking about how Dinosaur Mania was starting to pick up.
Yes.
I distinctly have memories of three things that even though I was, except for one of them, I was basically outside the age range for them at the time. One was Dino Riders. My younger brother was into those for a bit. There was another one. It was the Dinosaurs Attack cards by Topps. So kind of like,
gosh,
those things were gory as hell.
Yeah, like I remember one of a guy's face melting or whatever. It was pretty foobar.
There's one where a dinosaur flat out stomps on a dog.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Holy hell, that's terrible.
It is. It was graphic.
I didn't see those until probably decades after the fact.
Oh,
same.
My brother was picking those up when they came out. And he was younger than me. And what was the third one? I'm trying to remember. You mentioned Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. I think that started at, Xenozoic Tales in the comics?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was the name of it.
Yeah, it was early enough at least to get a Sega CD game based on it, I think.
Yeah, that's bonkers.
It did.
I barely hear much about that game compared to the Capcom beat 'em up, but it existed.
I remember what the other thing was now. Denver, the Last Dinosaur.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I was
That one
tempted
I
to pick that one, but I chose Dino Saucers instead.
Come on, Denver, the Last Dinosaur has a kick-ass song. I don't know.
He's your friend and a whole lot more, whatever that means.
Yeah, that's kind of sending some weird messages there.
Probably didn't raise eyebrows at the time, but now it's kind of.
Yeah.
It's a little questionable, just a little bit.
I just remember he wore sunglasses and played like a pink electric guitar in the opening or something like that.
He did, yes.
Totally rad, dude.
Pretty much. It was the last gasp of that stuff before it went all extreme.
Yeah.
Hence the last dinosaur.
Yeah. Good old Denver. The last
Good old
Denver. Bob Denver, the last castaway. Which ended up not being the case.
Denver. Oh.
Way to bring the stream down.
Well, I'm trying to think what to say here. It was mostly me and Mike catching episodes of this. And in some ways, like nostalgia, like I've mentioned before, is a hell of a drug. In some ways, it actually has aged just okay. It's kind of in a weird spot. Like, it goes for sort of like a halfway house between, slightly more serious stuff. And I say serious, loosely, like G.I. Joe and Transformers, but almost the more madcap and zany at times of not Transformers, excuse me, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which came out a couple months after this. It's kind of hard not to see why this was buried so quickly, because 2 months later, after it had aired, fully in syndication, TMNT came out. And that changed the field of like cartoons and toys of the 80s pretty darn quickly.
Yeah.
So this is one of those that got swept away, and it's kind of interesting because when I was looking at more information about it, it seems like suddenly a bunch of people have suddenly remembered the show existed at once. I know Prime linked an animation of the main villain, Genghis Rex, just winking that he found. Me. Oh, I know you didn't make it, but I meant you linked to it. Sorry. Or wait, was it someone else in the chat that linked that? Someone in this chat linked that. Okay, yeah, someone else linked that. There's been some other stuff too I've seen. It seems like this is one of those sleeper shows. You see those every so often where there's a small subset of fans that do remember it. And something that this show goes for that I appreciate compared to other action cartoons that we're going to discuss is that they go for an ensemble cast kind of thing. You get maybe at most 3 good guys, 1 or 2 humans, maybe tops, and then maybe 3 bad guys. Even though both teams have at least 6 members, and then there's 4 human kids. So G.I. Joe sometimes was hard for me to keep up with when I was watching it again for this stream, because there are so many characters, and there's even like 2 separate teams. Like, one is headed by Duke, one is headed by Flint. We'll get into more detail there, but it's just so weird how many characters are on that show. And then you watch this, and it's like maybe 3 characters at most at a time that you're dealing with. Sometimes only like 2, from each side. And I appreciate that, but it does sometimes end up giving the show a slower pace. In fact, that is the other half of the nostalgia as a hell of a drug thing, is that the last episode me and Mike covered it wasn't great. It was like they were clearly stalling for time and budget because there was so much dead air. Someone would say, "Hey, how are you doing?" "I'm fine." And it's like, God, why are we talking like this? And it's like the animation wasn't good. The premise was kind of weak, although there were still some bits that were kind of amusing. It just wasn't holding up to even some of the earlier episodes. And some of those earlier episodes, they're hit or miss, or shit or miss, as Mike likes to say.
I do like to, yes.
I have to say, Snarb, that I tried watching that show.
I know you did.
I gave it a try. The first one, when they tried out the old Lost Valley trope, yes. I was like, oh, well, that was okay, I guess. And then the second one was about baseball, and it's like, oh, geez, what next?
I like that episode. The baseball diamond episode is just so stupid because they end up playing dinosaur baseball, and it's just, and they're playing it with like the bad guys have these weapons that shoot. They conveniently shoot baseball-sized orbs at the good guys.
Oh, of course.
And I think they're supposed to turn them into like fossils and stuff. Like this show plays very fast and loose with its own rules, kind of like Transformers. There's a gimmick here. The good dinosaurs can transform into their original dinosaur forms, but are also intelligent, so they can do stuff. That was the very first episode, was going over that. But then the bad guys have some other stuff. I think they have the devolution rays. They can turn people into dinosaurs, but they're just dumb dinosaurs. And then they also have the fossilizers, which turns people into fossils. So, there's some gimmickry going on there. It would have been interesting in a toy line a situation, I assume. But
Yeah, I mean, they could have sold like separate toys of the Dino Saucer's intelligent forms, and then they're like Dino forms.
or have them transform, very cheaply. Maybe their suit snaps off, and then you just set them on all fours or something stupid like that.
And maybe they could have been like repainted Dinobots for all I know. I forget. This was after Transformers, right?
Oh yeah,
very much so. 87, 88, same year as TMNT. So it was pretty late to the party. The animation quality though is slightly on the higher end. Like the dinosaurs are actually incredibly detailed, and they're pretty consistent with that. And sometimes they'll just, they'll do that thing. What is the term, Satango, for when the animation is suddenly good?
Sakuga, I think, is the Japanese term for that.
Sometimes that'll happen. They keep the detail pretty consistent. Like they're even in that one episode that was mostly just filler. It was like, we got 65 episodes of the show. We got to turn out. Well, here's your filler. Yeah. It was still consistent. It still kept a consistent level of detail. Whereas, other shows of the time were a little bit, again, shit or miss there. There's this one creepy thing they keep doing with one of the characters, though. It's the Brachiosaurus on the Dinosaucer side, the good guy. They keep making his teeth really detailed sometimes. Like, he'll just be talking. It's like one of those false teeth or horse teeth kind of situations. It's like, why are you doing that? Stop!
It's like when Homestar Runner ate a sandwich full of light bulbs and he suddenly generated a bunch of teeth, which didn't look right.
There's nobody dumber than Homestar Runner.
Homestar Runner is the strong guy email. Yeah, that's the one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, for everyone who might have missed the previous stream, remind us again, what's your avatar's name? Because that's one of the evil dino guys.
Yes. So, my avatar is Quackpot. He's part of the evil Tyrannos, and he shares. Okay, so there's these two different kind of characters. Two different characters on the villains team. You have the dumb sycophant or brown noser, and then you have the sassy one that doesn't who's always cracking jokes and doesn't take anything seriously. And weirdly, they never appear in the same episode. You either get Quackpot or you get Ankylo. And Quackpot has an annoying duck accent. He's like quack quack, and then Ankylo sounds like a pig, so he's constantly snoring. So you get. I get why they didn't want to have both of them in one episode. I can only imagine how bad that would be, having one going oink all the time, the other going quack quack. So, he's the sassy one. He's not quite Starscream, that kind of level of sass and insubordination, but he's up there.
Well, regarding his voice, it still has to be better than adding, say, the word mega to everything they say.
What do you mean a kiss?
Yeah, that too.
Oh, God.
I did watch one. Aside from the ones we were assigned, I did watch 1 to 3 episodes of all sorts of scattered 80s tunes. I did catch one episode of Captain N. It was extremely stupid. I didn't.
Yes,
that show.
I was not compelled to go further down that road.
Just as a side note, that show pissed me off when I saw what they did to Simon Belmont.
Yeah, that was probably the worst character assassination of them all.
Yet I still watched it every weekend. So,
yep.
Yeah, I remember watching it. That's one of the few shows I remember catching in the 80s.
Us kids had no taste. No, just kidding.
I still find it funny that we did not have Samus, even though we had Mother Brain.
Yeah, that was weird. The hero team didn't have Little Mac either. The only villain that matched was the Eggplant Wizard to Kid Icarus, come to think of it.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Though there was an episode where Dracula showed up, too.
Yeah, but he was
and then they made Alucard a totally rad skateboarder as well. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oh, God, that was terrible.
Anyway.
Let's get back on track with Dinosaurs.
Yes, as far as Dinosaurs, I just wanted to mention that Quackpot reminds me a lot of a character by the name of Mr. Zinn in a game I really like.
Oh, yeah, from Gazillionaire, who is...
Called Gazillionaire, yeah. But,
who also quacks every time you pay off your debt to him. He's a space mobster, and he gives you a loan you cannot refuse.
Yeah, well, I mean, ducks were just popular around then. I mean, DuckTales would come out a year or two later, but
yes,
indeed.
On a side note here, Sharon asked if any of us had ever heard of a Chucky cartoon.
The doll?
Yeah,
I
from
know
Child's
that Chucky, I know that Chucky like got his own like series on one of those premium channels, but I don't remember if he ever had an animated series. Let me look into this though. I mean, I wouldn't.
Is it
unbelieve
possible the Buddy doll, like it was based partially, like the Chucky doll was based off a real doll, I think called the Buddy doll or something.
My
that
Buddy.
actually exists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's possible. That's based on the doll that Chucky was parodying, because like the only Chucky TV series was a live action one, actually created by Don Mancini himself, and was in 2021, and apparently after 3 seasons is surprisingly good. But as far as an animated Chucky series is concerned, I don't think that's a thing.
It wasn't there also a female counterpart to My Buddy? Was it a kid sister or something like that?
I think that was the name of it.
Yeah, I seem to remember that.
I remember that popping up after My Buddy took off.
Yeah, and I think that took off on the popularity of My Pet Monster.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as adult properties are concerned, I will once again remind that RoboCop and John Rambo somehow got animated series based on their very M-rated movies.
Yeah.
Somehow.
And with the Toxic Crusader.
Yeah, that was all
Toxic
based off of
Avengers.
a kids show based off of fucking Trauma of all things.
Trauma. Like, what are we doing?
Hey,
Trauma was all on board with that one.
Welcome into us talking about inappropriate shows based on M-rated horror and gore action whatevers. I don't know.
Well, that could be a podcast in its own right.
Yeah,
I just think with the slashers, they were just in a more notorious level, so it seemed like it would be less likely for there to be a cartoon of that. Because I mean, even the movies had trouble coming out intact at that point, with the MPAA kind of stamping down on them.
Oh, man,
Yeah,
they destroyed like Friday's 13th part, almost every one of them. But
part 7 was the one that got clipped down due to moralizing whatevers.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, welcome.
Or John Beekler.
Yeah.
So we have Heihan returning after a long
hello.
absence.
Hey, Heihan.
Yep.
Okay, hi, Heihan.
So
apologies, we keep interrupting Snarb talking about dino saucers.
Well, to be fair, it's probably one of the lesser shows of this era. I do still enjoy it because I like dinosaurs, and I don't mind the silliness. I'm glad that to quote the Wikipedia article, one of the creators said when they were coming up with the concept for the series that it's a very harebrained idea, and I agree with that. It's just so absurd and weird, and it's, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, like it's very, very close to being almost as zany as TMNT, but it doesn't reach those highs. But sometimes it's a little bit more serious, but again, it doesn't quite reach the highs of G.I. Joe and Transformers, or the lows thereof,
Yeah.
So it's an action team cartoon a little too late that doesn't quite it might find its footing later into the show. I watched it in syndication. That's when I first saw it. Like Cartoon Network, back when they were basically Boomerang, they showed the hell out of it. And it's weird because I remember more episodes with Quackpot in them, hence why he's my avatar, than I do with Ankelo. So I don't know if they chose, like, they skimmed off the top, or they only had access to so many episodes. But I also remember the Good Dinosaurs dino-volving a lot more. So again, or there being a lot more of that, or the devolutionary, whichever. But watching it, watching it just straight through episode after episode, it's really interesting because first off, you're seeing episodes you don't remember or haven't seen before, and then you notice the pacing's all over the place because, again, it was in syndication. You'd be catching it maybe every afternoon or every weekend, but you wouldn't really process how off kilter some of the episodes were compared to others, or you might just forget about it entirely. In the case of that one episode Mike and I saw, it's not really worth remembering.
Yeah,
Hi,
that
how
was
are you?
bullshit. that was bullshit. How absolutely accurate, like, the kid band members' costumes of the dino saucers were.
Yes,
how
it was.
Fuck?
Yeah, like the basic premise of that episode is one of the kids, the Secret Scouts, just casually says, "Hey, maybe we should call our band the Dino Saucers." And the two other kids he's going to play with in the Battle of the Bands are like, "Yeah, that's cool. Let's do that." And then he's like, "Oh, oops, maybe I shouldn't have done that because that's the good dinosaur team name, and the bad dinosaurs might catch on." Well, sure enough, that happens, but it happens after they somehow create hyper realistic costumes of 3 of the dino saucers
The hell?
in like a night. And I'm thinking, it's like, man, these guys would be making some bucks if they were still around, doing contours and stuff.
You know what that makes me think of?
What?
You watch like a TV show where they have like a costume party, whether it's Halloween or something else. And all the costumes look like they're all professionally done. You don't see the kind of homemade stuff that you'd see in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a hard pill to swallow, even though suspension of disbelief is not usually something you need for these fantastical shows. I will say that of the 10 episodes I saw with Snarb, I did mostly like what I saw, but it was also a little bit stupider than the average tune around this time. I mean, they all have their own doses of stupid, but like it felt like a lot of what was the action in question relied on Genghis Rex and his Tyranno crew kind of being dumbasses. Like, let's be honest, like a lot of villains in these shows are on a very sliding scale of competency, but Genghis Rex is probably on the lower end of that scale. I mean, he's unquestionably the smartest of the Tyrannos just because everyone else just seems to be borderline brain dead, but like for the most part, there's just like a huge bunch of incompetency rolling on their end. It's amusing to see how bumbling they get, but yeah, this show required a bit of suspension of disbelief about who could do what and who couldn't. And for some reason, 2 episodes, like almost right next to each other, took place in Hollywood for some reason. And
yes,
like,
that's right. There were 2 Hollywood episodes, and one of them was really funny because they stood on the same street corner for like most of the episode. It was like the good dinosaurs and the bad dinosaurs, and tour buses kept coming by, so they had to like pretend to be like animatronics or actors in suits, but they couldn't move beyond this one set, this one street corner. It was like a volcano set or something, and they were just, it's like, can you guys please draw a new background in? I'm starting to get a little tired of this, just a little bit.
I think that one was definitely a B-teamier episode. So
yeah, that's something else to mention is a lot of these cartoons, you would have like 1 week you'd have the A team working on it, like the better animation team or the better writing team, or it's just they just hit all the high notes there when working on that episode. And then you'd have a B team where the animation is a lot worse, significantly so. The writing is kind of weird. Again, there might be stalling for time by having a lot of dead air in the episode, or the characters moving very slowly, or staring at a background that with nothing in it, other than just the background.
God forbid the C or D team take over an episode.
Oh gosh.
It'd be just like, one of the dinosaurs standing there in just a generic jungle background the whole time, occasionally saying something educational. I don't know.
Or a pun or a misunderstanding over human culture. That's a big thing that drives the plot. It's like, we're dinosaurs and we don't understand humans and or human technology and other stuff.
Yeah, we need to find the diamond. The biggest diamond in the world.
It's a baseball diamond.
Oh, boy. Well, does anyone else have anything to say about old dinosaurs here?
Well, I couldn't get too far with that show myself, so I only watched the first episode and I thought, well, that was a show. That was weird, a little strange, but I can see a lot of people liking it back then as because of the whole dinosaur aspect. But I was more into the dinosaurs and Cadillacs or whatever it's called in Denver. Just because, I don't know, the song always caught my eye. But, it's interesting to say the least from what I've seen.
And how about you, Prime?
I remember this having a really long run on the Family Channel. It seemed like it was on there forever, but I looked it up and it said it was there from, I guess, 91 to 93 or something like that. It was only on there for 2 years. It just seemed like it was on forever.
Huh.
It seemed like it just kept popping up on different stations. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. It says, on the Family Channel between 1989 and 1991. and later in 1993, and again on 95 on the USA Network. So it kept popping up in different places. So that's probably why it kind of stayed. It just seems like it's a thing that keeps popping up in people's memories because the show kept popping up.
Yeah, it sounds like they just kind of trot it out every couple of years. Like, hey kids,
Yeah,
here's
and
something you forgot about.
Yeah, that's a lot of syndications like that. Like you'd get a lot of like 90s and 80s shows mixed together at different points because they were probably dirt cheap. Like I can't imagine this was a very expensive show to license,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, hell, it happened with Star Trek in the 70s. These independent stations grabbed it up for a song and suddenly had the most profitable show on their network. Yeah. Anyway, though, well, yeah, dinosaurs. There it is.
It happened.
Is
It's a show.
Is it good that it happened? Jury's still out on that.
Of the other shows on the side that I caught up for, I would say Dinosaurs was not the worst of them that I've seen. So there were a few others that grabbed me even less. This one...
You watched Rubik, didn't you?
We did.
I saw the first episode of that, and it was fucking terrible. A hot take I have, though, is that I only saw 2 episodes of it, but I wasn't really digging Mask, to be honest. That one didn't really capture me yet for some reason. Maybe I need to give it more of a chance, but I don't know. It just kind of felt like the halfway point between trying to meet a compromise between Transformers and G.I. Joe, and it just made me wonder why I wasn't watching one of those instead. I don't know. Maybe I need to view more of that one and see if it sinks in better. And Heihan really liked Mask, so yeah, I'm probably not being fair to it.
So did I.
And I like Mask a lot too. So
that's on me. That's on me.
That reminds me, Prime. I seem to recall you cluing me in that there was actually they'd introduced Matt Tracker into G.I. Joe via an action figure.
They did that during the 25th anniversary celebration of toy line. It was meant to just be two packs of 5 Cobras, 1 pack of G.I. Joes, 5 of them, then a 5-pack of Cobras. But then the line kept going on because they made a crap load of money off of it. And eventually they had a Matt Tracker figure. And that was the beginning of them kind of weaving Mask into the G.I. Joe scene. And I don't want to take up too much time explaining it, but all it's done is gotten stronger if you're checking out the Skybound comic series.
Nice.
And that's going on right now, so.
Oh, even better. And you were going to say something, Jay? Anything at all?
No, I've already said my piece about the dinosaurs show. Yeah. G.I. Joe, it's a whole different ball game, and I love that show. Anyway.
Well, for now, let's get into our next choice. So, allow me to open this one up here. From days of long ago, from uncharted regions of the universe, comes a legend. The legend of Voltron, defender of the universe. A mighty robot, loved by good, feared by evil. You're up, Jay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Prime.
As Voltron's legend grew, peace settled across the galaxy. A planet Earth, a galaxy alliance was formed. Anyways, yes, Voltron, the series that came out earlier than Robotech, at least in the West. It did come out in Japan around 1981, whereas this came out about 84, at least the line series, and then it turned into the vehicle series, but I like the line one more. I didn't know it was anime at the time, kind of like the way it was with Robotech, but I always enjoyed the show as well because it was very, not quite as serialized, if I remember right, but I could be a little wrong. But it did take them a few episodes to really get into like getting their line vehicles and such as it is. I really enjoyed the show back then. Had good music. I always found it corny whenever he's like, "And I formed the head." But
it's actually the torso that always bothers me.
That's funny. But yeah, like looking it up with the Japanese version, it's like there was 52 episodes of the Japanese version, and then they went another 52 episodes of the vehicle. But because there's actually 124 episodes, they added more episodes of the American side to bridge it more, I guess, to make it more like for that syndication stuff, like getting 65 plus episodes. I didn't know that. Like doing a little bit of research about the show, it just made me like, oh, this actually happened and whatnot. So like the characters' names are Keith, Lance, Hunk, whatnot, but they're named different in the Japanese version, and the voices of the English one is going to be like you'll notice the same voices like Michael Bell and Peter Cullen was the narrator, and which whenever I would rewatched at least the first few episodes there just recently, I'm like, oh my god, that's Optimus Prime narrating. It's really cool. But no, I actually really enjoyed the show, but I think Robotech was the better one out of the two. But at the time, I just loved seeing all these giant mecha lions turning into this giant robot that I thought that was always neat, even though it was kind of corny and funny and how they do it. But, yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch. I want to watch the Japanese version just to see how different it is, really. But we'll get there someday, I guess.
Yeah. I think anyone who started watching Voltron over here started with the lions and moved on to the vehicles. But yeah. One thing I remember, and I was really into Voltron as a kid, not enough to actually own any of the toys, because I guess they were too expensive, but watched it religiously. And when they announced they were finally doing a crossover between the Lions and the vehicle teams, I was all in for that.
That was a big event.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it delivered for what it was. I will say that going back and rewatching any Voltron is kind of painful now for me, though.
I did try to get a little bit just to get going, but I didn't enjoy it back then. But like, it's very harsh. At least the English version, maybe it feels a little different than the Japanese. I don't know.
Good question. I still have a very vivid memory of stumbling across a VHS tape of it in my local video store, Video Plus, back in the mid-'90s, along with a tape of Tranzor Z, a.k.a. Mazinger Z.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Renting them both. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm watching these. I haven't seen these in years. And I'm watching them. And by the time I was done, I was like, I used to watch these as a kid religiously? What was I thinking?
Yeah, I think it's a lot more rough around the edges compared to Robotech, but that's just my opinion.
Hey, Raven, welcome aboard.
Oh, Raven.
Hey, Raven.
Hello.
So, we're in the middle of discussing Voltron right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much opinion I can offer since, well, asterisk, this is my first time viewing the classic Voltron show, and my thought throughout, I've only seen 6 episodes, so I'm not sure this is really enough to form a fair opinion, but what I was thinking for the first 3 and most of the 4th episode was, when are they going to get to the Voltron factory?
Yes, that's why it took a while for them. I totally forgot how long it took them to get their own vehicles, their own lions there. I'm like,
you don't
wow.
Lions barely work. Just go right for the fucking main event already, you weak losers. I mean, I want to be fair because Jay, you and Rob have obviously, and probably Prime, seen a lot more than I have. Probably Snarb too. I mean, this is like my first time ever viewing the old show, but it's got pacing iffies to it. Like I you think I'd be more interested in what the bad guys are doing, but when it goes to like Zarkon, whatever the fuck his name is, I don't know. It just feels like a completely different show, and I just can't get in there fucking any of it. But like, I
think it was a different feel when you were a kid watching these characters.
Oh yeah,
because it was a little bit more violent at the time. It was especially compared to some of the cartoons at the time.
Plus, you think about, I mean, we were kids. We hadn't seen everything yet.
Yeah.
So there's,
true.
it literally hits you different.
Mm-hmm. This is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, that's true.
That is a fair point. I really don't have enough of a back then perspective. I can say though that Voltron got revived like 20 or so years later with a new show by the name of Voltron Legendary Defender, I believe it was called. I saw the first season of that. It was pretty good. I heard that show goes crappy at some point later for whatever reason. I don't know the reasons precisely why, just some things I heard here and there. So
Hey, you can always ask Sam.
Yeah, did Sam see Legendary Defender? That
He did.
Oh wow. Oh shit.
I think his daughter was a big fan.
Well, I'm usually interested to hear Sam's opinions. Somewhat drastic though they can be sometimes, so I'm a little afraid to poke that bear. But we'll see. We'll see. If I remember to ask him about it, I will.
Yeah, on a side note,
for-
before you go on, Raven just commented about what was popular in Iraq at the time, more so than Voltron. I have to admit, I've never heard of either of those series.
Combattler V sounds familiar, but I forget from where exactly.
I have heard of Grandizer, but that's just, as just having heard the name. So I don't know anything about either of those.
I see something that starts with UFO, and I usually go right to UFO Robo Dengar, which was an arcade game.
Yeah, it was by Nishibutsu. Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
But I also just wanted to comment that Pidge's English voice sounds like a Muppet. Which
Yes.
Oh my
And-
god! I totally
and
forgot about that place until I
Poor Pidge.
watched it.
I think that was like a prototype for the voice that Neil Ross used for Wall-E in the Monkey Island series, but a lot more ridiculous than that somehow. Crazy enough.
On top of that, Pidge had a brother on the vehicle team.
Oh, really now?
Oh, Lord.
And same voice, I think.
Well, I guess I'm going to have to cut ahead. Like, I am interested in watching more, but it starts off on a bit of an iffy foot. There is also, of course, the issue of Sven, who sounds just like the most stereotypical Nordic, like, hey guys, how do we eat some lutefisk tonight for dinner? Hinga dinga durgan, like that.
Yeah.
It's fucking ridiculous voice. He is.
Every time I heard, Sven's voice, I kept thinking of that bit from that episode of Ren and Stimpy where he whizzes on the electric fence. It's like, I am Sven and you're Ollie, or I am Ollie, you're Sven.
He is Ollie, you're Sven. Yeah, it's. It's. I guess they thought that voice was just so ludicrous. Actually, no, that's not the reason. Because of course, the Japanese version obviously has a more sane voice, I'm sure, but. Sven gets killed really early.
He gets jobbed pretty quickly, like by the 5th episode or so.
6th, yeah. It's barely a spoiler because it happens so early in the damn series. I guess the princess takes over for his limb, if I'm not mistaken. But like, the Western version just Bowdlerides this so hilariously. It's not unlike what they do with Duke in the G.I. Joe movie years later.
Oh no, we'll get to that later, Mike.
oh no, I need an ambulance. You're going to be okay. Yeah, but I don't think I can do this anymore. No, you'll be back later, and then he never fucking comes back. It's so stupid.
You mean the Swedish Chef, Mo?
Dirty turkey. Anyway,
bork. I can do a pretty good Swedish Chef voice when I put my mind to it.
At any rate, I don't think I liked what I saw of Voltron as much of what I did of Robotron. Maybe I will give it more of a chance, but
wait, what is Robotron?
Yeah, I'll say I like Robotron better than Voltron, but I don't think Voltron ever had a game.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of dumb.
Unless you're talking about Macross, there we go.
Robotech?
Check! Yeah. Oh, wait, no. Shit. Fuck.
It's okay,
Robotron 184 is a great game, though. It's one of my favorites from that era.
Your brain combined different parts of different 80s things into one.
Yep.
Yeah. It ended up coming up with something that actually did exist.
So it was kind of like this for Mike.
I was expecting to clap, but that works too.
No,
There we go.
I deserve no applause for that one, but I appreciate your generosity.
Yeah, the ducks are quacking early today.
Anyway, Snarboo's opinion on Voltron, if he has any.
It's one of those shows I actually saw at the time. I mean, it was running in syndication. I only saw the Lion version. I didn't actually know about the vehicle version or the aborted Gladiator version until much, much later. But my memories of the version from my memories of actually seeing it at the time is like I kind of just have little bits and pieces of it. Mostly, the Voltron robot fighting the monsters, the bits with the castle, because the castle is really cool and could transform, or it transforms pretty early on into that mecha castle, and it's just really cool. But I do remember some characters that I would later learn, I think, were added for the US version. I know there was an evil princess character, and I believe she only appears in the extended American season. There's also a maid that appears later. I don't know if she's in Go Lion or not, but my only memory of that character is like the princess was being bratty, so this maid character actually bent the princess over her knee and started to spank her. And I of course, that would be the one memory I have of the show that's very clear.
It's like, oh, this show's going places now.
Jimmy Christmas.
This show is going places now that you didn't expect it to.
Yep.
But watching it again, it has a very slow start. We really only get to see Voltron at full power for like a few seconds in the third or fourth episode, and I think bits of the fifth. But I can already kind of see where the formula was going to go later. And basically, here come the bad guys. We're going to try and do something that's ineffectual. Oops, it's not working. We're just being a bunch of jobbers. Why don't we get out Voltron? No, we can't do that for some reason. Just pull out Voltron. Okay, it worked. Yay.
A precursor to Power Rangers later on.
Exactly, yes. It's very Super Sentai. And I do appreciate that it's in an animated form. That is pretty fun and cool. And the lions are I remember the actual lion toys as a kid, especially the black lion. That was always my favorite one just because it had the wings. Yes. And it's just such a cool toy. It's very iconic. And the designs are very iconic. This is one of those shows where you're not necessarily watching it. You're watching it maybe for the Monster of the Week, but you're watching it because it's just so damn stylish. Like, that intro is so good. The form blazing sword, what is it? Dinotherms connected, or like gauge interlocks, that kind of thing. And then obviously I'll form the head. Yeah. It's just so hype. When Voltron actually appears for the first time, it is a very hype moment in the show. He only appears for like maybe a few seconds before chopping the monster in half, but it's just so cool. And when it does stuff like that, it reminds you why you're watching it. And then you'll be watching like the third episode of the show, and like the Voltron team is like literally begging the one dude, the ward of the castle, whatever his name is like, can we form Voltron? Can we? And he just says very flatly, no. That's literally part of the episode. And I'm like, are we really doing this so early? Are we really is this really our episode? It's like, can we form Voltron? Can we? No. And it's like, why are we doing this? Just form Voltron.
Yeah, oddly, one thing that sticks out in my mind about Voltron, those little mice.
Yes, the space mice. I had forgotten how important those guys were to, everything, because they're the ones that find the key for the Black Lion. I meant they stole it in the first place, but...
Well, yeah. It happens.
I like the space mice, if nothing else. But I do like rodents in general, so it is what it is.
And, as far as the vehicle Voltron goes, I don't think, if I remember correctly, they weren't operating under, some dude in the castle who would tell them no. They were actually operating out of like a space fleet or something like that. That was weird seeing cars and trucks flying through space. Because he had and it's funny, my friend Andre actually had the complete vehicle Voltron.
Oh, nice.
And there was a lot more than 5 pieces to that thing. So, you had...
Just annoying that you have to get to, the 70-plus episodes to get to the vehicle series, but,
Yeah, But let's see. I know there were some cars in it. There was a jet, some helicopters, a rocket, maybe. I don't really recall, but that thing took forever to put together.
Yeah, I bet.
Mhm.
Supposedly, the Japanese series, in the Japanese one, the theming has something to do with, it's either lacrosse or it's cricket. Like the number of vehicles perfectly matches that, and that goes with the team dynamic as well. I don't remember the name of the actual thing, but I thought that was very interesting that it was simultaneously like this mecha robot show and a sports tie-in at the same time, apparently.
Now that
That's new to me. That's cool.
Mhm.
I also remember because they called the vehicle Voltron on the toys. He was Voltron 1, and the Lions were Voltron 3. So the question is, where was Voltron 2? We never saw him on the show.
That's the... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, I don't remember that at all, to be honest.
yeah,
Wow.
what it was is there was like 3 separate robots that would, when they formed Voltron, he would be like this big 6-armed robot or something like that.
Yeah, it was Gladiator Voltron, which, it was based on some other Japanese series. We were possibly going to get the toys for that, but for whatever reason, it was aborted. I guess because the Lions were just that much more popular.
Mm-hmm. Funny thing is, I seem to have a very distinct memory of seeing the Voltron 2 toys in a store. Now, that could be just me seeing the coming attractions, as it were, but...
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, hard to say. I definitely remember, because I would mention that to people I'd run into who remember Voltron. They're like, the hell are you talking about? 6-armed robot? So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, Voltron. That's a show, all right.
That is a show.
A show I used to watch, but haven't seen in ages and probably will never watch again.
I just remember enjoying it as a kid, but when I watch it again, I'm like, oh, it's
Yep.
good, but something feels off
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
Same. Except for that one time in the 90s.
But I've watched Robotech much more recently, and I still have that same feeling when I watch that. So I don't know. I think something got screwed up with Voltron somehow.
Yeah.
Well,
I think Robotech was just made of something stronger. I don't know.
yeah.
made
I
of
think
sterner
it's story,
Exactly.
Sterner stuff.
I thought you were
Megatron.
made of Cerner
Yeah.
stuff. Anyway,
Shall stand, shall fall.
before we get into the final 3, anyone want to go ahead and maybe have an aside talk about some of the other 80s cartoons we haven't really mentioned yet?
I believe Mike would actually have a lot to say about that. I didn't watch too many series beyond what we saw, but I know Mike has been like downing them for just to get a feel for the era.
Well, if you want me to opine, Snarf sucks.
Yeah. I was just going to bring up Thundercats, too.
Otherwise, Thundercats is pretty interesting. But Snarf is such a whiny bitch that he kind of docks it from like an A- to a B+ at least.
He kind of fades out as the series goes on, just so you know.
The third episode had him less aberrantly obnoxious than in the first 2, so as long as they just keep minimizing his role like Wesley Crusher in the early TNGs, then
Shut
that's
up, Wesley.
probably for the best. Thank you, Picard.
Acting
Yes.
Captain Wesley Crusher. Anyway, I'm not good at that.
I actually remember pretty distinctly a few episodes of Thundercats. Like, there was the one where they had to climb that tower that was, like, owned by a dead guy. I just remember they got up to the top, and it's like, there's a door in front of Lion-O and whoever else. You should have like, enter. They finally go, and the dude's been dead for like 1,000 years.
Dang.
And there was another one. I don't even remember which one it was, but there was a bit where Tigra turns towards the screen. It says something about laws. Like, he just kind of drops a random PSA in the middle of everything. It was just like, well, that was out of place. And also the one where they introduced basically the good Mumra. who was a chick.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it was a woman.
Huh.
She lived in the white pyramid instead of the black pyramid.
Interesting.
And then there was one where they encountered the other survivors from Thundera. There were three. There was like a Bengal tiger and an old guy and another girl. That's about all I can remember about them. So, okay, Prime. What about you?
Oh yeah, I like Thundercats a lot. I haven't seen it in a while. I watched it on. I think I watched it on Amazon Prime years ago, but that was one of my favorites. That's one of the ones where everybody remembers how great the intro was. But I think even the show looked. I think even the show looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was expensive. You
Mm-hmm.
could tell.
Yeah.
But one of the things I liked about it, that show was one of the first shows where I started really wanting spin-offs of the side characters too. Like I can't remember her name, but she was like basically a space cop on an air bike.
Yeah, I remember her, but I can't think of her name either.
She was cool. Hachiman, he had an episode where it almost looked like that was supposed to be his spin-off debut or something. They kind of focused on him when he
Backdoor
like
pilot him.
Yeah, he had an extended scene where right before he leaves, he does all this really cool stuff before he heads out, and I was like, man, it was like that should have had his own show.
Wasn't he like a time traveling samurai?
I think so. I can't remember if he traveled through time or if he was frozen in time and unleashed or something like that. If he got the Steve Rogers treatment.
Yeah.
But that's one I really want to rewatch again. I've got some of the show on DVD, but not the whole series yet. So I want to dig those out and watch them.
And imagine though if they'd done a spin-off series about the Rover Burbles.
The Rover.
That sounds like something the networks would have requested specifically.
Yep.
Because them and Snarf, the more I hear background info about how these shows were made, the more it feels like they put stuff in there just in case they want to appeal to the types of suits that like that stuff. Because there's like I brought up last week, Ms. Lion, the cutesy dog in Spider-Man His Amazing Friends, that was demanded by the network.
And I loved how they spoofed that whole thing in that extra in the Incredibles DVD, like the Adventure of Mr. Incredible and Pals, where it was him.
I didn't see that.
Oh, you got to, especially with the commentary on, you got to watch that. But it's you had Mr. Incredible, Frozone, and Mr. Skipperdoo, who was a bunny wearing glasses.
Yeah.
And it's funny because with the commentary on, Frozone had never seen it before. And he is just going off on this thing. And now I'm in this commentary, further connecting me with this show and with a rabbit. Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future. I remember that.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that was.
Yes.
I do not know that one at all. Sorry.
It was like.
Has that ever been on streaming?
I don't know, actually. I just remember that if you had the toys when you were a kid, you were supposed to be able to interact with the TV with them.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was.
They had sensors on there. I don't remember how people said they worked because I remember reading an article about it. But I mean, it was a really cool idea.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I remember my brother had a couple of the action figures. I think he had Captain Power, and he had also his arch nemesis there, Lord Borg guy or whatever his name was. I can't.
Ernest Borgnine?
Nah, I said Lord Borg guy. He looked like a freaking Borg.
Crazy.
Yeah. And also Centurions and Visionaries. I remember Visionaries quite well. Centurions, not so much, but I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Saw Centurions for the first time on Cartoon Network, even though I was alive when Centurions was on.
Yes, that's how I saw that show.
And I don't remember why I didn't see Centurions at the time. I don't know if it came on a channel that I couldn't get, or if it was on against the show on Saturday morning that I was watching something else and couldn't tear myself away from it.
I never stumbled across it at all. Now, Visionaries, I remember actually reading the Marvel comics based on that. So it was really interesting how it opened, because it's like there's this planet and they have this advanced technology and all this stuff, and then this wizard appears and he's basically like, the age of science is ending and the age of magic will begin again. And sure enough, that's exactly what happens. He's a good wizard, though. He's not like, he was just saying, the prophecy's about to pass. So, like, people driving their hover cars or eating in floating restaurants, like, the age of science suddenly ends and everything just stops working.
That kind of sounds like the premise behind Thundar the Barbarian, almost. Which, I only saw one episode of that, but I really liked what I saw of Thundar. Like, that it just very thoroughly committed to its, regressive post-APOC setting with all sorts of ruined skyscrapers everywhere, but it effectively is like a sword and magic series. I just thought that was interesting how it really balanced that tone there.
Yeah, basically a runaway planet hurling between the moon and the sun. That was part of the intro, and
that's how it started. Right?
That was a killer intro too.
Hell yeah.
A few weeks ago, I got a set that Warner Brothers put out, a different 60s, 70s, and 80s cartoons, and Thundar's on the last disc.
Nice.
And they were talking about that and the fact that it was a bit heavier than any of the other stuff that was on Saturday morning in 1980. You basically got. Oh, and they had two different ideas for the origin. One was going to be nuclear holocaust, and they said, you know what, maybe we shouldn't put that for a kids show. Yeah. So they put the thing with the planet. But I mean, there's nothing cutesy about Thundar. That version of Earth is really messed up, and they play it seriously, and that it was super popular because like I said, that was one of the things you would talk about on the playground or when you were hanging out on the weekend and stuff. I mean, we loved our Thundar the Barbarian show, and it's funny they took it off the. I'll go ahead and tell the story. If you subscribe to Secret Galaxy, that YouTube channel, they had a show on Thundar days ago. And they repeat the story that I had just read about why Thundar was taken off the air. Gary Marshall had a TV deal, and he wanted to get that Laverne and Shirley show cartoon done. So they had to get rid of a show. What? So they got rid of Thundar.
God. They replaced Thundar with Laverne and Shirley.
That is straight from the writer. I don't know how to pronounce the name. Mark Evanier. He worked on Garfield later and a lot of other stuff. A really great writer.
That's a kick in the head, though. I mean, I remember watching like Laverne and Shirley in the Army, and it's like, well, this is kind of bad.
It's kind of like expecting a badass import video game, and instead you open the box and it's Hello Fucking Kitty.
Right. Thank you, Mike. And yes, hey Han, I think there were actually two Laverne and Shirley shows. One was when they went into the Army. I think there was one before that too. But I might be thinking of Happy Days, which
because there was a Happy Days show, a Laverne and Shirley show, and eventually a Mork and Mindy show.
And I remember Happy Days involved the Fonz somehow having access to a time machine, and he had a. I'm being serious though.
I mean, I don't disbelieve you. It's just
I think that's
were they trying to outdo the infamous shark jump moment with even crazier shit for the Fonz to do?
Well, yeah, because he also had a dog named Mr. Cool. And
not to be confused with Spuds McKenzie.
Exactly. So it was like Fonz and Richie and Ralph Malph and Potsy would travel through time with Mr. Cool and, typical...
And the Space Lady. I don't remember what her name was.
Yes, the Space Lady. I almost forgot about her. And they would go ahead and things would happen. Like they'd go visit the dinosaur era or the Wild West or whatever. And Fonzie would step and be like, hey, and then... the Outlaws' guns would jam her. It was just ridiculous stuff like that.
sounds like some serious 80s cartoon brain rot for the time. I don't know how to put it.
Well, what about the Gilligan's Island cartoon?
Of course.
Wasn't
there
that in
was
outer
one of
space?
those, of course.
That was the second one.
Gilligan's
Oh,
Planet.
there were two of them. Okay.
Yeah, there was one
Yep.
called Gilligan's Planet.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot about
I
that.
bullshit on this somehow.
they first they did a Gilligan's Island cartoon, then there was Gilligan's Planet, which showed how they got to another planet. It was basically that the professor, who apparently can't patch a hole in a freaking hull of a ship, builds a rocket to get them back home. And Gilligan screws things up. They go off course, and they crash land on a deserted planet. And
I keep reading that one of the crew members should have just killed Gilligan at some point, and that would have made things a lot easier.
probably would have. But when they're on the planet, and they meet an alien named Bumper. I once wrote a synopsis for a finale to Gilligan's Planet. On this very special episode of Gilligan's Planet, Bumper eats the castaways but gets indigestion from the skipper's hat. Series finale.
Jeez.
So
Sounds good.
they actually had all this stuff. I don't know why tying it in with popular sitcoms of the time. I mean, what was next? All in the Family, the animated series?
I think some of this stuff had something weird to do with some of these deals that the developers had, because this is stuff I'm just kind of recently reading about as far as Gary Marshall's deal. I didn't know that's why they had that set of 3 shows. So maybe they had some kind of deals with the other developers where you had what was that, Partridge? It was the futuristic Partridge Family cartoon.
Yeah, I've tried to
in the
forget
70s.
What sort
And
of
it
fucking
basically
show was
just
that?
looked like the Jetsons.
that. Yeah.
Yep.
I was pretty successful until now in forgetting that. Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I'm glad I could bring the horror back.
Thanks,
bring that
Prime.
horror back for
I
you.
owe you one.
Anyway, He-Man.
Yeah, now that was another one I used to watch all the time.
Yeah,
Mhm.
He-Man's good. I know that Orko isn't everyone's favorite, but I don't know. I don't have any problems with him. It's
Yeah.
a very weird show, but not a bad weird, I would say. I've only
It's
seen
very
2 episodes so far.
Fabulous
yes,
secret
sir?
powers were revealed to
Oh, you go
today.
first, actually, and I'll continue.
Yeah, I mean, I have liked what I've seen. Of course, Skeletor is an all-time bad guy, to say the least.
Yeah.
It's good old Darm's voice there, if I'm not mistaken, right, Rob?
Yeah, I met Alan Oppenheimer about 10 years ago at a con. And he did a lot of voices on Masters of the Universe. He was the voice of Falcor in The Neverending Story. And
Nice.
in something I actually reminded him of, because he totally forgot doing it, he was the voice of the narrator and Darm from East Book 1 and 2 on the TurboGrafx 16.
Wow. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's really neat.
He actually thanked me for reminding him of that. And I've noticed whenever he appears at a con, he actually does list East in his bio now.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. But the best part, though, was because my kids were up north at the time, and I told them I was going to meet him. They're like, oh, tell him we love him as Falcor. So so that's exactly what I said. It's like my girls just wanted me to tell you that they loved you as Falcor. And he looks at me and he goes, what do you mean as Falcor? I am Falcor. I was like, you just did the Falcor voice. That's great.
He shows up in a few live action things too. He shows up as 2 different characters in different episodes of Night Court.
Yeah,
Ooh.
and he was also on
wow.
a 2-parter on Married with Children.
Oh shit!
Nice.
Nice.
I mean, he's a really funny guy in those shows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He has a resume longer than most of our arms.
Longer than our man-at-arms? That was a terrible sentence.
Oh, God.
Anyway.
Wah.
Yeah.
You're just trying to get the ducks quacking and the horn
There we
playing.
go. There we go.
Okay.
Or Oh my god!
I deserve that and then some. Anyway, I think Snarf had a thing or two to say about He-Man.
I'm trying to remember what I was actually going to say. I did rewatch it a few years ago, and it was actually entertaining. It has a style to it that a lot of modern stuff doesn't, and it's this very distinct pulp fantasy, pulp sci-fi feel, and I really miss it. It's one of those hallmarks of the 80s that hasn't really returned. Like, you'd have a fantasy series. It might have orcs and elves and other kind of stuff, but it would also have weird stuff like weird tech, or there'd be a place that was basically like the Wild West for some reason. So you'd have like orcs and elves, and they would just be, there'd be gunslingers, some kind of weird concept like that. And you don't see it as much. And rewatching He-Man, I really appreciated that. I appreciated the weird tech, the mix of magic and technology and all that kind of stuff. And of course the characters are, like all of them are lovable. Like even Orko, the little butt munch of the group, he's actually kind of likable, and he's actually kind of useful sometimes. He could be a kind of a chaotic gremlin, chaotic good gremlin when he needs to be. You mentioned, you kind of mentioned something as an aside too, Rob, as a little bit of a joke, like the whole fabulous secret powers thing.
Yes.
Apparently a decent amount of people that worked on He-Man were actually LGBT. I don't know where I read that. I would have to do more research into it, but that someone was saying that explains some of the fashion sense in the show, because it's very 70s. There's go-go boots, and like you got like fur vests and other kind of things, and fur loincloths, and it's a very interesting aesthetic. It's a very, like Conan, which I believe Filmation actually worked on a show before that was a little bit more Conan-esque, Black Star. I didn't get a chance to see that one, but it was much shorter lived as I understand it.
Yeah, and that I was mad when they took that show off the air. I have not seen it since.
Really?
I missed out on that DVD set they put out of it, but that was a very cool show. And not only does it kind of feel like Black Star, just the whole thing where you've got this guy who's considered a coward and his pet, and they transform with the weapon into mightier versions of themselves. There's a 60s cartoon that was part of the whole Space Ghost and Herculoids era called The Mighty Mightor. Where that
I have vague recollections of that one.
Where basically that was his whole thing of they were cave people, and he raised his club and he turned into Mightor, which is really close to Thor, probably not by accident. But he turned, like Donald Blake used to turn into the Mighty Thor. He turns into Mightor, but the difference was he turned his pet into a larger creature. And I never really see anybody bring up that if anybody was influenced by that or not.
Now, the only thing I remember Mightor from was Harvey Birdman. I never saw the original show.
Yeah, these weren't Southern cave people who went into, went on to become judges. They were just Oh, and there was a female character who always used to get on the main guy's case when he was regular. Why can't you be more like Mightor? I love Masters of the Universe. I was into it before the cartoon even came out, and they had a different storyline for it. Basically,
I remember that.
Where, the mini comics had a completely different story to it. But the one that everybody knows now came from, I think, some stuff that they did with DC Comics that I didn't get to read at the time. It was new to me when the cartoon popped up.
Speaking of which, I was doing a little cleaning around here the other day. Found a stack of my girls' DVDs that they left here. On the very bottom, I found a He-Man set and a She-Ra set.
Oh, nice.
I remember giving those to them too about 15 years ago. So, but yeah, I'm tempted to break them out and watch one of them at some point. Maybe even both of them. I think the Secret of the Sword is on that She-Ra set. Which, of course, was the big He-Man She-Ra crossover. When you got to find out the backstory about her, which I think was where she became She-Ra. Anyway.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Well, all that aside, what say we go ahead and start covering the other stuff? I think we've kind of danced around with this for a bit, so I'm gonna leave it up to Mike this time to go ahead and go with his next pick.
Yeah,
Before
this
that-
was actually a little
Hang
bit
on a
of...
sec.
What?
What are you saying?
I was going to say I'm going to be bowing out. I've been dealing with this too long, the pain, but as much as I want to stay longer, but I'm just not able to. It's hurting.
I got you.
Just say
man.
it.
Yeah, it's cool, Jay.
But
Yeah,
what
that's
I'm-
fair.
Sorry.
Say it's cool, Jay.
Yeah, we're glad to
Yeah.
have you on even for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
This week felt oddly cursed anyway, so that's fair. Rest up, recover however you need to.
We got Earthion. How can
Well-
you say it's cursed?
Oh.
What I'm going to do is obviously leave the stream on in the background and hear you guys soothe me to sleep or whatever you want to call it.
Okey-dokes.
But it was always a pleasure to come on to these things, and I can't wait to do another one. And hopefully, I'm going to feel perfect for the next round because, well, this has been an odd week moving people in and other things. And it's a pleasure talking to all you guys, and I can't wait to hear what Mike's going to say about the next topic.
Yeah.
And
But yeah, Jay, been
everything
great.
else.
Been great as always.
Thank
and
you. Thank you.
We are definitely having you on a very near future stream. Won't be next week. I'll give you an extra week to recover.
I appreciate that, but I cannot wait.
If you're feeling up to it, in 2 weeks we'll have you back on for that one stream we were talking about.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
so in that case, Jay,
All right,
have a
cheers.
good night.
Have a good night. Keep on
Well,
bringing on the nostalgia.
we'll keep on keeping
We'll
on.
do our best to. Thank
Keep
you.
on. Cheers.
Hey, night.
See you, sir.
Bye.
All right, Snarb, I know you said you're probably going to have to bow out possibly before the end of the stream as well.
Yes, I can probably get up to about G.I. Joe or so. I don't think I'll be here for the full Transformers bit because I'll need to leave about 10:15 or so.
Yeah.
So that we should be able to sneak in 2 more things until then.
Yeah, I think so. So, that being the case, Mike, let's go ahead and jump into Jim.
Gem is truly outrageous, truly
no,
outrageous,
no.
contagious.
Germ is truly contagious. Truly
is.
contagious.
But we're the misfits. Our songs are better, and so forth and so on. Anyway,
And we're going to get her.
Yeah.
yeah, Gem is actually not a series I grew up on. I was actually feeling a little, I felt as if I was lacking 80s cartoon knowledge at first, so I wanted to choose a series that I wanted to look into more, even though I didn't know much about it coming in. Then I realized that, oops, I should have chosen the Muppet Babies, but someone else did anyway, so that base was covered. So I figured someone else was going to choose Gem, so that was up to me to research this series. Gem is about let's say, a music manager by day and a musician superstar by night. She has an alter ego for some reason, even though it's really obvious who she is, and I don't know why she needs to keep up the charade, but it is what it is. She has her band members, and she has a boyfriend-ish, Rio, who Snarb called Stu Pickles because he has purple hair. Now I can't get that out of my head. The basic premise of most episodes is that, you know, they usually have to play shows and raise money for whatever cause. Like an early one has like one of Gem's several orphans or whatever. She collects orphans for some reason. I forget exactly why. Who get some eye surgery going and, like, you know, all sorts of relief things that need to be done. And, like, she has to try and wrest control of her dead father's company from the unscrupulous actually outright really fucking evil businessman Eric Raymond, who also employs the musical talents and wet work ability of the Misfits, a rival band
I'm
to
telling you,
Gem and the Holograms.
it was
Yes?
great. They got Danzig and company on the show because that just made it that much cooler.
Wait, Glenn Danzig was on Gem? Really?
No, we're talking about the Misfits.
It's a Misfits reference.
Okay. You're making a joke. I get it now. I like
He's calling you.
Just keeping on your toes, Mike.
Yeah, well, don't expect greatness out of me. I'm a little out of it, but I need to catch up on so much sleep today. Anyway, so yeah, it is an incredibly soap opera-ass show. Like, it moves at a manic pace. There's like a lot of drama going on at any time. A lot of it involving her actual name is Jerrica Benton, which Jerrica is a funny name to me. I don't know why. But that is Gem's, I guess, public alter ego, and she has her band members Shauna, Aja, and her little sister Kimber, who is very jealous and the source of a lot of drama at times. Like, if anyone's going to be the weak link in any sort of plan to bribe any of the holograms to do something they shouldn't, it's going to be Kimber. Why she doesn't get fired, I don't know. Blood is thicker than money or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, Frank Zappa was on Ren Stimpy. He was like the Pope or something, if I'm not mistaken. I think I remember that.
I could see him doing that too.
Yeah, no, very in line for him. I think he only said like one line too. But yeah, so yeah, Gem moves like a mile a minute. Like, usually something that Raymond orders as per his, sometimes by the Misfits, sometimes by his thugs, one of which, his head thug, is named Zipper, which is kind of like it's a dumb name as it were, but it's kind of like a prototype voice to like what Charlie Adler would use for Cow and Chicken like a decade later, which I couldn't get out of my head. Because it's crazy because Adler is also Eric Raymond, and I'm like, this is not a voice that I normally associate with Charlie Adler before the 90s. So credit to diversity in his resume there. But yes, and Gem is also assisted by a very magical computer by the name of Synergy. That was it.
Yep.
Who keeps causing illusions and allows like Gem and or Jerrica to be in other places where she shouldn't be. She like makes it's like a Synergy's like a Deus Ex Machina computer wizard machine. I don't know how better to put it, but
yeah,
she basically makes holograms.
Yeah, Gem the hologram.
Hyper realistic holograms.
Yep. Which was totally a feasible technology in the 80s.
Yes, exactly. This totally I mean, this show is 80s as all balls, as if like the hairstyles and fashion senses would not be obvious enough to say on that, but
on that note, Mike,
yeah,
an acquaintance of yours from way back when, during the heydays of the moon, and an old friend of mine actually once commented that she had taken out her Gem dolls to show her stepkids or something like that at the time. And the first question they asked was, why is their hair so big?
It was the style at the time.
Yeah.
It literally was the fucking style at the time. I don't know how better to put it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, this show is a huge time capsule of a very specific era. And, like, it's like very, like, new wavy 80s rock, like whatever, like, I don't know, Bananarama or, like, the Bangles or whoever the fuck the Walking on Sunshine girl was. I can't even remember her
Katrina
name.
and the Waves.
Katrina and the Waves.
Katrina and the Waves, that was it, yes. Like, sort of like that. There's actually some pretty good music on here. They actually have, some, like, a couple of original songs per episode, and I don't know, it's pretty catchy, I admit. Like, this show is very audacious in its style, Like, for better or worse, it can be a little overwhelming to take it all in. But what I've seen, I think it was only like 8 or 9 episodes so far, but what I have seen has been very fun, and I have enjoyed what I have seen of it so far. Except I do have to remark on something. Coming into this show, I got the impression that, like, the Misfits were just, like, really bratty mean girls to the holograms. Like, they were just a really pesky rival who whined about a lot of stuff, and there is quite a bit of that, to be fair. What nobody told me is that they are total fucking psychopaths who almost murder several people, like, every goddamn episode. They keep causing, like, natural goddamn disasters. Lots of bombs going off. I mean, some of that is on Zipper's orders. Even Raymond himself interferes. But, like, Jesus, no, the Misfits want to fucking kill Jem and the holograms. They should have been arrested, like, 80 times over by now, but they just completely escaped prosecution for anything. Apparently, Pizzazz, their leader, she has a super rich dad, so that's probably, unfortunately, why they get off scot-free on a lot of shit.
Oh.
And unfortunately, yeah. Oh, yes, Prime, what?
No, I think that was Rob saying your name.
Oh, yes, Rob, what?
Mike's working blues tonight, everybody.
I always do. You know that by now.
I know.
But he's right. The Misfits are borderline dreadnoughts in the show. If you've seen G.I. Joe, they are maniacs.
Yeah.
They're criminals. They're frighteningly effective. And like he said, I don't know how like you said, Pizzazz has a rich dad, and that's the only reason why they're not in jail, because they should be in jail multiple times over, because it's not like people don't know who they are.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
There is some suspension of disbelief that you have to kind of accept there, I guess.
Sounds like they and the Dreadnoks would have been perfect for each other.
Yeah, they would. Pizzazz would probably date Sartan if, actually, I don't know if she have much of a love life. Matt, I mean, that's not for me to investigate, but it is what it is.
Though, it's funny you bring that up, though, about the Dreadnoks, because if I understand correctly, this show actually does take place in the greater Hasbro-verse, or it was supposed to. Yes, I believe you linked to something, Prime, that was discussing that. There's a reoccurring character that appears in all these Hasbro cartoons.
That's right. And it's messed up because now I'm half asleep, so I'm blanking on his name. But in an episode of G.I. Joe called 20 Questions, there's a character who's basically a parody of Geraldo Rivera before he went national. And he shows up in G.I. Joe, and then they realize, well, hey, we can, whenever we need a reporter, we don't have to make up a new guy, we just bring him back. So he showed up again. But then he starts popping up in all these other shows. And the writer Buzz Dixon on a blog post mentioned that he did intend to have all of them be connected. And a joke that was cut out of My Little Pony, the My Little Pony characters were going to go to Optimus Prime for help.
I mean, he would be able to help. That is fair. That's a choice.
But he shows up is Hector Ramirez. That's his name. But he shows up multiple times, and then he starts showing up in all these other shows, and that was their little thing of saying, okay, we're gonna have this be our thing of showing how they're connected without really mixing them together, except for a certain show that somebody's going to talk about later on.
Means we were never getting.
It's kind of like how Commando and some other 80s action films of the time had Val Verde as a shared fictional nation in them. I wish I could remember what else besides Commando did that, but yeah, it's just what it reminded me of offhand.
Unfortunately, it meant we were never going to get that G.I. Joe Gem Transformers My Little Pony crossover that everyone was dying for.
Well, a man can dream, I guess. But
that would explain synergy and all that, though.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, you think that's the level of technology they had going on in that universe at that point. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that it's easily possible.
We
think.
totally got to set Synergy up with Teletron 1. I think they'd make a cute computer.
And if Synergy can do these holograms, there was one character who could do holograms in one of the other shows, and that was Mirage on Transformers.
That's right.
Yep.
That's true, yes.
Yeah. So the pieces are all falling into place. Like a well-played game of checkers.
And I think Zartan utilized some hologram tech every once in a while for his disguises.
Check and mate. I think he did too, actually.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah.
Oh boy, but yeah, Gem was one of those shows that I never really watched all that much. I'd catch the occasional episode here and there if I was bored. But I remember
Can I bring something else up?
about it.
Oh.
I really have nothing else to say about Gem. I just remember so little about it. But yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Okay. Gem started off as part of a show that used to air on the weekends. In most places, it was called Super Sunday. And it was a syndicated show. It had, I can't remember the other shows that were on it now, other than there was one called Bigfoot and the Monster Machines, which was about monster trucks, but there was a toy line for them at the time. But it was that and a few other shows, and then in a later season, Gem was part of it. And so Gem started off like some of the other shows as just a weekend show, but then Gem got so popular they ended up making it a weekday show. So Gem, and I think that was the only show to ever get that distinction, because it was Bigfoot and the Monster Machines, robotics. I think Visionaries was part of it for a while. And Inhumanoids.
Those things were so cool. Yeah, there was actually...
Yeah, and Inhumanoids is part of that universe, because Hector Ramirez is in that.
Oh,
sorry.
Geez.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, though, there was one other 80s cartoon that Gem kind of reminded me of, which, if I remember correctly, it came out after this show did. Or maybe right around the same time, I'm not sure. Kid Video. If anyone remembers Kid Video.
with the music numbers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And it was kind of the same kind of new wavy style of music, just, but it had Cousin Oliver from the Brady Bunch in it.
Yep, Robbie Wrist.
Yep. And
Nice.
it's like they were pulled into, like, what was it, the video dimension or something like that, and they were going to be sentenced to perform for the Master Blaster forever. And then some fairy wearing Flashdance clothes came along and freed them, and things happened. Hey, Brandon. So, but yeah, it kind of reminded me of that in a way. I'm about to start screaming at this thing here because it keeps going from green to yellow to light green to red to yellow to...
Yeah, you were starting to phase in and out like a malfunctioning computer there.
Yeah.
It's strange.
The funny thing about Kid Video was that was done by Deep.
Yeah.
And they did another show where somebody gets pulled into a video land.
Oh?
Which one?
Captain N.
Captain N, of course.
Oh,
Deep
wow.
did Captain N.
Different kind of video land, of course. I can't figure this out.
Yeah, and it starts off with you see the characters in live action, and they get pulled into the video world where they're cartoons.
Mm-hmm. I cannot figure this out here because we're not having anything that would interfere with the connection. So, I don't know what's going on. Anyway.
The stream's just cursed? I don't know.
Eartheon, man. We got that this week. We can't be cursed.
Yeah. And the one thing I was going to say, and I forgot to put it in there, Super Saturday, Super Sunday was the show that everybody knew except for a few select markets. And in those places, it was called Super Saturday. And that's where I saw it. When I got on the internet, I didn't see anything about Super Saturday at all. So I'm thinking, how did I misremember this? And I'm thinking that for about a decade. And then finally, somebody puts a video up on YouTube where they found the Super Saturday intro, but they were so used to Super Sunday existing that they didn't realize it until they put it in the description of the video. They said, I didn't even realize until I watched it on YouTube that I had Super Saturday, because
Wow.
nobody knew. Online there was no documentation of it. Everybody just said Super Sunday. So it's easy to it's easy to think that you're misremembering something, and then it turns out you just saw something that was insanely regional for reasons you didn't hear about.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy.
That's how weird cartoons were back then.
Yeah,
No kidding.
that's for sure. All right, and as one aside before we move on, it took forever for Gem and the Holograms to get a movie, and then look what happened when it finally did.
Oh.
It did? I totally forgot about
Yeah, it did. It kind of bombed really bad.
The Holograms.
Well, they basically totally disrespected the source material, made it modern, and it's like they were using the name to appeal to the Gen X girls who watch Gem all the time, but trying to make it marketed toward Gen Z, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, that never works.
Yeah.
I barely remember this being a thing. This was 2015? What the
Yeah, it was a little while ago. It kind of came and went.
It was pulled from theaters
Probably
after
for
2
a good
weeks,
reason.
I think. Like it was,
They yanked it out of
wow.
theaters with the quickness.
yeah.
Oh boy, this sure was a box office bomb, Davey. My
Yep.
gosh.
I mean, they had Gem becoming a star because of YouTube, for crying out loud.
Oh God,
That's cringy. That's pretty cringy, I tell you what.
Yep.
What? I did want to comment or chime in just a little bit about Gem. Most of my memories are watching it with my sister, who had, I believe, the first miniseries. There's actually 2 miniseries back to back, kind of like G.I. Joe, where you have one that's 5 episodes, and the other's 3, where it's like goes over the rise or the fall and then rise of Jerica and Gem and the Holograms, and that's how I remember it, is watching it on VHS. We also had a couple other tapes, I think, one where they go to Hawaii, which was actually a pretty fun episode from what I remember. Otherwise, most of my memories of it are actually watching it with Mike. And yes, the Misfits, I think, are the most competent and ruthless Saturday morning villains that I have seen yet. They actually get shit done.
Terrifying. Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, most of the episodes I've seen are like, Gem and the Holograms do whatever benefit they need to. They play whatever music, but it never feels like the Misfits ever fully lose either. At worst they just don't. At worst they just don't prevent the Holograms from playing the concert they need to for whatever benefits or whatever. But like, they otherwise don't get heavily punished, and it's. Like I said, there's like some like real almost bullshit in there about getting off what they shouldn't with, and that was phrased poorly. What the fuck did I even say?
That'd be a whole different show.
Yes,
would.
very, very different.
Very.
But yeah, I have liked what I've seen, but it's of a particular nature that I understand not everyone might not be into. So,
And Gem and the Holograms, a tribute to Cannibal Corpse. I don't know why that was
That's how
just
that goes.
flying through my head for some reason. So yeah, that's Gem. Truly outrageous and all that.
And contagious.
Yep. Outrageous. I think Gem is her name. No one else is the same.
Yes.
Confession's her game.
Yeah. Gem! All right.
Sparkle.
All right, earring boy. Anyway,
Because I can't believe nobody said Showtime synergy through the whole thing. That's the
Yeah.
catchphrase.
Oops.
That was a missed opportunity, to be
I
fair.
already completely forgot that.
I
Some fan I am.
forgot it a long time ago, so there was no way I was saying anything. All right, so we're finally down to the big two.
So to speak, yes.
The behemoths of this whole thing. So, Prime, I think you should kick things off with a hearty Yo Joe. Or, or if you really want to,
Joe. That's about as loud as I can get in here.
Got to get tough.
Joe
Joe tough.
Between that and my throat, my throat being kind of sore.
I mean, I'm no Michael Bell, but I could attempt it if you wanted me to. Yo, Joe!
You're right.
It
You're
actually
no Michael
triggered
Bell.
the noise suppression.
Yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake! I overdid it. All right, well, no one.
Cobra.
Oh yes, Major Blood always screaming Cobra.
Your favorite character.
Yes,
Major
a quote unquote
Blood.
favorite.
Well,
Stooge.
I have recently fresh memories of watching G.I. Joe, but we'll get into that after Prime kicks us off.
Yes.
Okay, G.I. Joe's based on the 1980s revival of the 1960s toy line. It started off when they were using comic advertisements as kind of a sideway thing to advertise the toys elsewhere before the restrictions got dropped for Saturday morning cartoons. But the thing about it was just such a great looking cartoon, and I remember as a kid I just thought, man, they should just make a whole show of that. If I secretly had 3 wishes, I kind of just blew one, because that's what they did. Because if you look up the commercials online, you can see, I mean, at the time, 1982, 1983, nothing else on Saturday morning was even looking like that yet.
Mm-mm.
So they start off with a mini-series called The Mass Device. That does well. So they have another one called The Revenge of Cobra. After that, they have another mini-series that kind of goes into the whole the weekday TV show. And I'm trying to think of how to even describe this show. It's basically a group of terrorists called Cobra is just going around just doing ridiculously insane schemes. So the military, they form a military unit called G.I. Joe to combat Cobra and other weird threats that are going on. G.I. Joe is basically, I don't know how to put it, they're not normal. None of these people are normal.
No.
My whole headcanon for it is, since Cobra was insane, the G.I. Joe team would just put together of insane people who could just out crazy Cobra.
Yes, send the maniacs
Because
catch a maniac.
you can't. I'm trying not to go into the overlong origin of the whole thing, but originally the group was put together by Hawk, who was not in the early episodes of it because his toy was being discontinued at the time.
Mm-hmm.
By the time the cartoon came out, even the first mini-series, they had 2 series of Joes. They had what they call the original 13, which, the first members. That's basically Hawk, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, Stalker, who's my avatar over there with the stylish beret, and a group of other characters. Then after that, you've got the specialists coming in like Gung Ho, Snow Job, Doc, Torpedo, the scuba guy. Duke isn't even available in stores yet. Duke shows up in the 3rd line of figures, and the funny thing is, there's a storyboard of the cartoon where all of Duke's lines have Hawk under them. So I've never seen anybody confirm it, but that makes me kind of wonder if they were going to have Hawk be the leader at first. Then they said, and Hasbro said, well, we've got a figure coming out that we're going to say is the leader of G.I. Joe. Could you put him in? And his name's Duke. Same number of letters, basically the same face in the commercials. So even then after you hear this, you got this feeling like they're kind of doing this as they go along.
Yep.
So once the show hits weekdays, you're getting like a steady dose of GI Joe, and that's when all the weird stuff starts happening.
Oh,
Where did you guys first? Where did you guys first see GI Joe when you were kids?
Now I'm pretty sure I caught the Mass device originally. So it was like, there's something I'd never seen the like before. Yeah, it's like, hey, this is pretty cool. I knew about the action figures, but I think that was what really kicked off my desire to start collecting them. So
Yeah, because like you said, there was nothing else. There was nothing else on that really looked that good. They spent a lot of money getting that cartoon to look good, and that was kind of spun off of the fact that they were having Toei Doga do the animation for the comic books and then the action figures alongside that. Because sometimes they would, well, before they dropped the restrictions, you couldn't have animation in a toy ad. So the way they got around it, like I said, they advertised the Marvel comic book, which Marvel helped them develop the backstory of the characters. There's a writer named Larry Hama who adapted a lot of a pitch that he had for this. I think it was the son of Nick Fury, and it was called Fury Force. But Marvel didn't go ahead with it. Some of the stuff he developed there kind of went into it. A writer named Archie Goodwin, he came up with the Cobra Commander design, because at first they weren't even going to have villains. If you have the really early GI Joe figures on the back, there are no Cobra.
that's right.
It was just all GI Joe, and Marvel said, "Look, you got to have them fight somebody." And they said, "Well, villain figures don't sell. Nobody's going to want a bunch of villains."
Yeah, that's what they thought.
And
Yeah.
because it's crazy because they hadn't done that. That turned out to be the most popular characters of Cobra Commander and Baroness and Destro and all those characters.
Zartan, I remember getting him.
Yeah,
and just
with the color change.
That was great. And as Heihan put it, he used to watch that over there, except it was called Action Force, which makes sense. I mean,
Yeah, there was a comic book going on. Heihan, were you reading the Action Force comic book when it was out? Because stuff that I've seen about the Action Force comic, they had their villains were called the Red Shadows, and some of that stuff kind of bleeds over into the GI Joe line a lot later, like in the 2000s and stuff like that, when they brought it back.
makes sense.
Like I said, the problem with GI Joe, and it's not really I don't consider it a problem. There are so many characters, I don't know how to boil it down of who to talk about.
Right. That was kind of my issue on rewatching it. But you mentioned how we first encountered it. My G.I. Joe was the Dick season with Got to Get Tough, Yo Joe, as well as the Sergeant Slaughter bits from Cartoon Express, I believe, they re-aired it there sometime in the early to mid 90s. So I remember him hamming it up really good, and then you get an episode of G.I. Joe to go with it. But I was able to watch the two miniseries, which were both really good. As you noted, there's a lot of characters. There's technically even two separate teams within G.I. Joe that kind of function the same. Like you have Duke, Scarlet, and Snake Eyes, but you also have Flint, Lady J, and there's an equivalent, I think, to Snake Eyes, or there's just another a bunch of other people there that mostly operate on that side. And yeah, there's a lot to take in with this. It's another action team cartoon, and that was my only complaint, is there are so many characters, and they weren't able to focus on any of them explicitly in the miniseries, because they were trying to just introduce everybody. The second miniseries introduces the Dreadnoks, who are all great. I can't wait to see more of them when I start watching the show again. But the other thing I really remember about the show is an episode involving everybody's favorite eponymous sailor, Shipwreck.
Shipwreck is one of my favorites. I will freely admit that.
Yes, I love the guy, but this episode basically involved, all I could remember was people melting and mindfuckery, and sure enough, as soon as I mentioned that, I believe you, Rob, were like, there's no place like Springfield.
That's the one.
So I got to sit down and watch that again, and it was a little bit better paced because it was mostly focused on Shipwreck and a couple of ancillary characters, some of which were introduced for that episode, and others were referencing a lady character I haven't seen yet. I assumed she appeared earlier and, either died or something bad happened to her because Shipwreck has the hots for her. But yes, and he doesn't realize he's married to her. There's some kind of amnesia plot going on. And then later on he sees Roadblock go through car wash and he melts. And there's actual eye trauma. His eyeball pops out of his head as he melts into this purple gooey slush. And it's like, what the hell? No wonder this freaked me out so much as a child.
Jesus.
Yeah, really hot in there. That's one of my favorite ones.
There were discussions about that on the G.I. Joe board where people were basically all connecting over their shared trauma of the episode. Because,
wow.
Yeah, like you said, you've basically got people, and you don't know they're going to start doing this. They just, characters that you've watched as a kid, and all of a sudden, they're melting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that they couldn't have gotten away with on Saturday morning. G.I. Joe was syndicated, so they were able to get away with a lot more stuff. They could basically punch people in the face, kick people in the chest.
But they couldn't shoot them.
They weren't killing people because they realized that was a bridge too far, especially with a military show. Everybody, they would jump out of the airplane before they blew up and have a parachute.
This reminds me. Did you ever happen to see that Futurama episode called Saturday Morning Fun Pit?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that one.
They
I didn't see that one either.
The best G.I. Joe spoof ever. G.I. Zap. Go me!
Is it as good as Venture Brothers?
I don't know, but it is hysterical. You see, it's basically the whole thing is about Nixon's head, who's president of Earth at the time, and there are protesters outside the White House when he's trying to just watch some Saturday morning cartoons. So they go ahead and they do a spoof of Strawberry Shortcake. Forget what the other one is.
One of the Smurfs, I think.
Bort.
Yes, that was it.
But the last one they do is G.I. Zap. And Nixon's watching this and he's just like, yeah, I should probably do something about this. Do we have anything that can alter tape? His voice is like, oh, we do. So he starts narrating over it, and just he'll cut in at various points, like they play it backwards, and a tank just destroyed a school. It's like they fix buildings with their anti-building destroyer lasers. And when they're flying into battle, they're going up against Acronym, which is like something about angry young men or something like that. And the professor's in charge, and Zoidberg is with them, and I forget which one is they call Professro. That's it. Anyway, the GI Zap team comes in. They start parachuting, right? And they're shouting out their names. And they sound off as they jump in. When Leela jumps out, she's like, Nutcracker! Oh, that's our name for a woman. Let's call her Pat. And but Bender has the best name. As he jumps, he goes, Orphan Crippler! I'm just not even going to touch that one. Then the plane takes a hit and goes down, and of course Zap bails out, leaving Kif to. He's like, "Oh, I've safely landed the plane at a naturally occurring explosion at Disney World," and his arm comes flying into the screen. Hi, Tinkerbell. You got to watch that whole thing. It's great.
Been a while since I have. I should.
Anyway, Sharon, yes, the Chicago Bear, Refrigerator Perry, actually got a G.I. Joe figure. He was a special mail away.
It happened when the show wasn't being done though.
Yeah,
So
that's
he
right.
wasn't on the show, but they had an animated commercial for him.
He was the Joe's physical trainer, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was something like that.
So
The thing that was even crazier than that, they were gonna have Rocky in there after the success of Sergeant Slaughter.
yes, Mike.
Wow.
It made it so far that there was a series of Marvel comics called G.I. Joe: The Order of Battle, where they would show one design sheet picture of the G.I. Joe character, and then they'd have his or her file card information. In one of those issues, it's Rocky in kind of like a training suit, and he's got a staff. I think the staff has 2 boxing gloves on it or something weird like that. I don't remember if it was that. I don't remember if that was the picture in there, or if that was the picture that they had for the figure before it was canceled. But what happened was, because there was a deal with, who was that, Remco, that was doing the Rambo figures. They didn't want his likeness on a competitor, so they canceled the figure. So in the next issue of that book, there's a retraction saying Rocky was never part of the G.I. Joe team and all this stuff. And as a kid, we were all like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Like, did we just
What the hell was that?
It's like, we know we didn't hallucinate this because we've got the book before this and he's on it. So what happened? So we didn't find out until years later when you start finding all this behind the scenes info.
Didn't they go as far as to make a Cobra boxer as well? That actually made it out.
Yeah, Big Bo. Yeah, his name was Big Boa.
Mm-hmm.
And in my head, I was always thinking, did they name him because of Rocky Balboa? That they,
It's possible.
or was he? I don't remember the timeline on this because they were both out around the same time. So I don't know if that was supposed to be a play on his name or something like that. But he was, I mean, the Big Boa figure was out when that book happened, because he was in one of the issues of it. So like I said, I don't know the timeline on all this stuff, but that was one of the other things about G.I. Joe behind the scenes, is that from what all the people that worked on it said, they were working on the show. It wasn't just they came up with this stuff and they said, okay, here's what we've got. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, let's start doing the show. There were changes happening as they were doing the show.
Mm-hmm. I believe
So
that.
when you watch the miniseries, you will see prototypes of things that are in a later show. Like the G.I. Joe characters had this vehicle called the Shark. They were like mini submarines.
I love
You see the prototypes of that early on. You see, what else was in? Oh, the fire bats.
Yeah.
The Cobra Terror Dome comes with a small flying vehicle called the Firebat. But you see a different colored version of that in some of the earlier episodes too. So there's stuff that pops up all the time in that show, and you kind of wonder whether or not it was going to get a toy, because some of the stuff just never gets a toy.
Mm-hmm. I know that the Shark was one of my favorite G.I. Joe vehicles. Absolutely love that thing.
Yeah, they were cool.
And so on the same kind of level, so was the Devilfish they did. Which
that was a nice vehicle.
Mm-hmm. In fact,
one floated in water. And
yeah, I actually had quite a few of G.I. Joe water, like either just boats or like, I think the only one I was missing was the water moccasin. Is that what it was called? The one,
yep.
Yeah, the one driven by
Copperhead. That was
Copperhead.
a Cobra one. Copperhead came with that.
I had the whale. I had the moray eel hydrofoil.
Yep, I never had that.
That thing was cool.
I had the Joe hovercraft.
Yes, the whale. Had that too, just to get what's his name there, Cutter. Before we get too much into that, though, Mike, you got anything to say about G.I. Joe yet?
Well, I unfortunately didn't grow up with it in its heyday like you guys did, so I had to settle for actively seeking some episodes out myself. And several years before this project, I did view like the first two miniseries and a handful of episodes of the Snarboo series. One which I semi-vividly remember, which is apparently one of the best episodes in the show, was where three of the less common Joes end up in an alternate reality where
Yes.
they're dead and whatnot, but like one of them's also married to Baroness, who is good and even hotter somehow. So
Yep.
Yeah.
and then like they actually like have to decide whether or not they like want to take their place in this new reality where they need to fight for justice here because, you know, I believe Cobra was winning, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Cobra.
But
They
won.
basically won.
yeah, it was a pretty grim alternate reality, as I recall.
Because what happens is it was those three Joes, but it was also Flint and Lady J. And the three Joes who were also going out of toy production. There were Grunt, Steeler, and Clutch.
Yep.
Okay.
They go into that dimension, and at first they don't know what's going on because they just think they think at the most they might have time traveled or something.
Okay.
But then they're going around finding all these clues that, oh crap, it's like we've been gone for a long time in Cobra 1, but then they find out, no, they went to an alternate reality. And the kicker comes when they're trying to get into this one area, and the three Joes that you were talking about basically stumble on their own corpses, the skeletons wearing their uniforms and dog tags.
Wow.
And that was in a kid show.
Yeah.
In the 80s.
That was a two-parter. Had a major impact on me as a part of my own creative works. Introduced me to the whole multiverse, alternate universe thing. It was called Worlds Without End, parts 1 and 2.
That's the one,
yeah, I need to see that one, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an amazing show, and yes, somehow they found a way to make the Baroness seem even hotter somehow, and I don't know how.
they essentially made her.
I wouldn't remember that, wouldn't I?
I think about it. They essentially made her good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she was secretly working with the G.I. Joe Resistance. Because I think they said there were a few people who were still alive.
Yeah,
I don't think you ever find out who. But and it's funny because you also see the thing of them pitting Cobra Commander and Destro against each other for a little bit.
That was the Baroness's plan. That's basically when the rest of the Joes went back to their home universe. It's like they were ready to launch the first battle between both sides. So Cobra Commander on one and Destro on the other.
Yeah.
And the fun thing about G.I. Joe, the series, they were able to, in syndication, they were able to get away with some insane things they wouldn't have been able to do on Saturday morning TV, and including some crazy satirical stuff. There's an episode.
Go on.
There's an episode called The Wrong Stuff. Now, the whole point of the episode is they have to go up into space because Cobra has a satellite that's jamming TV, and the thing that everybody remembers is that Cobra had their own TV station basically, and it was overriding all the other stations, and it was all Cobra propaganda. They had a show called The C Team, and the main guy in it, his name was Mr. C.
Yes.
Instead of Mr. T, it was a white guy in the same outfit, but he had the letter C in his hair instead of a mohawk.
And
he says, "I pity the
fool."
Oh, go ahead.
I pity the fool who doesn't join Cobra.
And it's funny because the G.I. Joes are in their rec room watching this like, wait a minute, what the heck is happening here? One thing they do is King Kong but King
Yes.
Kong never dies. He's beaten up all the airplanes, and they said, "Man, they're saying, oh, we can't defeat King Kong." And they said, "That's right, because you could." And the character turns to the camera and says, "Because you could never beat anybody that's bigger and stronger than you are."
And I remember Destro just looks at Cobra Kai and he's like, "You changed the ending."
Yeah, they digitally changed the ending of King Kong to promote their propaganda.
Yep.
And in an age, it seems even more relevant now with AI the way it is,
Yeah.
and the people who want to push AI. I mean, the thing that people keep thinking about with GI Joe is, it seems like a lot of the schemes that they come up with now is stuff that Cobra was doing back in the 80s.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
They came up with their own fake currency.
Yeah.
And they were trying to get people they were trying to destroy the dollar so people would buy their fake currency.
Yeah.
You know, getting back to the wrong stuff for a minute. There are actually still lines from that episode I've been quoting for damn near 40 years now. Like when Duke is watching the initial squadron of Sky Strikers take off on the Rocky, he's like, "Go, you puddle jumpers!" I used to shout that in traffic whenever people would not go when the light turned green. And also when Joe's finally got on board the satellite, and Destro is trying to figure out what's going on. Something. I've overlooked something.
Yep.
I'll do that anytime I can't remember what I'm, just whatever. Oh, and
it was.
Let's not forget this classic bit when because the Dreadnoks are the ones who are manning the guns and whatnot. And at one point, here comes the Sky Striker, and Zartan's like, "Fire at will," and I think it's Torch. He's like, "Who's Will?"
Oh yeah, can I talk about the Viper?
Oh my God, the Viper! Yes.
Okay, so GI Joe headquarters gets this call. This guy saying, I am the Viper," and he gives this set of instructions of what he's going to do. And he hangs up. They don't know who it is, but it's a Snake character. All they ever fight is Cobra. Every once in a while, they fight the Russian equivalent of GI Joe called the October Guard.
Which, before you go on, I just wanted to bring this up real quick. They also teamed up with the October Guard from time to time.
Yeah.
And like right near the tail end of the Cold War, at least as it was at the time, seeing Americans and Russians working together was a big thing.
Yeah, that wasn't happening on TV too much at all. Most of it was stuff like Red Dawn and just basically there's a lot of propaganda going on. But this showed the GI Joe team teaming up with the Russian team, and they could they were able to get along, and that kind of went against the whole. I don't know. People who didn't actually watch the show, they thought, oh, it's just this. This super Ronald Reagan style fantasy land, and it's like, no, it's actually subversive as hell.
You just brought something to mind, actually, which I have to go off since you brought it up. Way back in the old Third Moon, there was a member we had once who started a thread about G.I. Joe, and he's like, so did your parents let you play with G.I. Joe when you were a kid? How did they feel knowing it was essentially a piece of New World Order propaganda? Blah, blah. And me and our friend Devilman were like, the hell is he talking about? I made it a point to lay out all the things that, they did on the show. It wasn't just, patriotic flag waving and USA, USA, or we are the world's policemen. It was like, there was like one episode about oil fields and one episode about politics, and that's it. And I totally set him straight. He had no idea about the October Guard either. So he came away with a little bit of a different idea about the show. But anyway, back to the Viper.
Yep. So it's almost like they're dealing with the Riddler and trying to decipher his directions and where he told him he was going to be. So they figure out where it is, and they go there, and there's like a secret Cobra place, and they beat him up, and all they're saying is, we don't know how you figured out how to get here. And they're expecting them to bring up the Viper, and they never do. And by the way, this is before they had a trooper style called the Viper, which replaced the Cobra soldiers. So they hit place after place based on these clues, and they keep talking to people, and nobody knows who the Viper is. So the Viper calls one more time saying where he's going to be. So they meet him there.
And they got everything all.
Yeah, everybody goes there because, like, man, this is the most dangerous guy we've ever faced. We haven't even seen him. We haven't been able to fight him. Cobra doesn't even know who he is. Like you said, bring everything you've got. So they go to the location, and out walks this short, kind of tubby guy with a big hat and glasses and cleaning supplies. And they say, "Well, who are you?" And he says, "I am the Viper," because he was basically the cleaner, telling them what part of the building he was going to clean. They think it's all these coordinates around the world, like, yeah, it's this and this such and such longitude and latitude. It's like, no, he's telling them he's going to do the west corner of the building, 3rd floor or whatever it was,
and like his prices and
yeah, and they're all sitting there stunned that what just happened, and all of a sudden Barbecue, the guy with the, like, basically the full headgear, he just busts out laughing, and then by the end of it, just all of them are laughing. The Viper's just still standing there like, I don't know what you're laughing at.
I am the Viper. I'm here to wipe your windows.
I think Animaniacs did a similar gag.
It's a classic joke, so.
Yes, it has been in a lot of iterations, yeah. Can't believe G.I. Joe went there of all places. So that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, G.I. Joe had an episode where the thing they were trying to get was literally called the MacGuffin device.
Yes.
And it's funny because through the episode, nobody ever says what it is or what it does at first. But, well, who was it? Shipwreck's like, "Hey, Beachhead, what's the MacGuffin device?" And he said, "That's classified." And Shipwreck laughs and says, "Ha, that means you don't know either."
Yeah, I remember that one. There was one episode in particular I wanted to talk about. Well, actually, more than that, but this one in particular just comes to mind immediately. Now, if you recall, I started off at a young age watching Raiders of the Lost Ark, so I had an interest in Egyptology. Well, there was an episode called The Gods Below. You remember that one, don't you?
I'm laughing because I already know what you're going to talk about.
Yep. The Gods Below. Where basically G.I. Joe and Cobra met the Egyptian gods. Yeah, it's funny because, Set is the one that encounters Cobra Commander and the Baroness. He's like, "You all worship the snake?" He turns into a giant cobra. Meanwhile, the Joes are being escorted into the afterlife, and their hearts are getting weighed and all this other stuff, metaphorically. And they end up catching a ride with Anubis at the end. And there's some stuff about treasure being taken from Osiris's tomb, and it has to go back, and so on and so forth. And it's just... And of course, they think they're heading for the land of the dead, but at the end, Anubis just kind of tilts the boat and they all fall out into the river. Oh, go ahead.
I was about to say, one of the things is Duke, I think Duke calls him Dogface.
Yes.
Because that's a term of endearment for a certain type of soldier. But he wasn't thinking at the time that he was talking to an actual dog face. Yeah. And he says, term of endearment. So that kind of played into the whole, do you think he remembered that crack you said about him?
Yes. I also like how most of the episode they spent disguised as Crimson Guards, who I always thought were the coolest Cobra soldiers.
Incredible outfits. the entire irony of Marvel having to tell them, "Hey, you need bad guys for this," and the bad guys turn out to be some of the most popular characters in the entire toy line.
Mm-hmm. If there was any Cobra foot soldier that I liked more than the Crimson Guards, it was the Bat.
Yes.
Battle Android Trooper.
Those things were awesome.
It's funny because depending on which episode you're watching, they're either basically the disposable fodder since they couldn't shoot people.
Mm-hmm.
You could shoot robots, which, you could kill them off, which the Ninja Turtles figured out.
Yep.
And some episodes, they're just mowing them down wave by wave. In one episode, there's one that's basically walking around like Michael Myers tearing up everything.
It's like the Terminator Bat.
Yeah, it was basically that. Can I run through the Nightmare episode really quick?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay. There's an episode in season 2 where suddenly all the members of G.I. Joe, they're having these nightmares about failing. They're all connected to their character. But the one character that you don't see sleeping because the second medic they add to the team, Lifeline, he wakes up, he goes to the rec room, he doesn't want to go back to sleep because that's how bad the nightmare was. And the night trooper / sniper Lowlight is sitting in the dark in the rec room, and he said, "Oh man, I didn't even know you were in here." And he was like, he said, did you sleep okay? He's like, "I try not to." What they find out is Lowlight had a really messed up childhood where his father, and remember, this is a kid's cartoon, his father thought he was too much of a scaredy cat, so he made him go out into the woods in the night and don't come back until you bring back 20 dead rats.
Jeez.
What an
Oh my
asshole.
god.
Psycho.
Mm-hmm.
What the shit?
And he still has nightmares about it, so he doesn't sleep much. So as the episode goes on, you've got nightmares like Duke being afraid that all the G.I. Joe team is being... I mean, you have Hawk being afraid that all the G.I. Joe team is being killed off because he gave a bad order. Or like Alpine, the guy who's the mountaineer, he's got nightmares that he can't climb, his equipment fails. And it's all this stuff, and you find out the head scientist of Cobra, Dr. Mindbender, made a nightmare machine, and he's beaming it into G.I. Joe headquarters, and it's giving them nightmares so that when they go out into the field, some of them actually start to see the nightmares they were having.
It's a very Dr. Mindbender thing too.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the perfect Dr. Mindbender episode. I mean, because that's what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually they all figure out, wait a minute, you're all having nightmares. This can't be a coincidence. So the one who shows them how to fight it is Lifeline. And what happens after that is borderline Dream Warriors Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. But before that even happened,
Nice.
that movie happens like 2 years later after this episode. Basically, what the G.I. Joe team have to do is team up and help each other fight their dreams, and Lowlight's basically showing them how. And they're able to overcome the machine, but he's also overcoming his trauma of, like I said, being a kid having to go into the dark and bring back 20 dead rats. And again, I don't know how they got away with this in a kid's cartoon, but it was great to see it.
Yeah, that's heavy stuff for a kid's cartoon.
And the nightmares just look insane. I mean, the one Hawk has, it's a giant cobra, kind of like the one from the Atari game. And I mean, they're basically dying in their dreams and screaming in a kid's cartoon. Now you don't see the complete deaths, but there's stuff like one of the Arctic troopers, like Iceberg. He's afraid he's gonna mess up and freeze and all this stuff. It's like Nightmare on Elm Street before the Nightmare on Elm Street series even realized, well, everybody wants to see this because of the dreams. Because I mean, you remember what Nightmare on Elm Street 2 was like. That wasn't really about the dreams that much. And the writer of this was Marv Wolfman. He wrote and co-created the new Teen Titans. He co-created Cyborg, Raven, and Starfire. He came up with this episode. He and a few other comic writers, they were doing a lot of stuff on this show and a lot of the Marvel Sunbow shows. But it's funny that in this cartoon, in a kid's cartoon, he came up with Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warriors before Nightmare on Elm Street did.
It's pretty great.
Yeah. Now, there was another episode, speaking of horror type of stuff, where it got pretty Lovecraftian. Now, if you remember that one. It was the episode where, I don't remember the name, but basically Destro has his family's located in Scotland. And,
Yep.
you know, Baroness wants to see him without his
So
mask.
that's why he sounds like Sean Connery.
Yeah, a little bit. So he says something about his ancestor who, you know, he was imprisoned in this mask, and they've worn it all as a tribute to him, you know, all those years later. And there's some stuff they gather for all of them. Meanwhile, coincidentally, Lady J gets a note saying she's just inherited a castle in Scotland. And yeah. And she goes there, and she basically encounters this crazy cult and ghosts and yeah. So in the end, you find out that it's Destro's home castle. And these cult members are his family. And they're going to sacrifice her to this tentacle thing that lives down in this, pit on the property somewhere. And ends up, well, Flint followed her in disguise. So he's able to get her out of there. And the castle gets destroyed in the end. It turns out the Baroness set the whole thing up because Destro made a crack about her at one point early in the episode, and she got very pissed off. And Destro's just like, okay, fine, that's fair, but you better hope that what you may have unleashed today doesn't come back to haunt us. And you find out that tentacle thing is still down there, which is weird because then in an episode they did later on, it's a sequel, but for some reason Tentacle Beast there turns into like a giant dragon or something.
The fuck?
Huh.
Yeah, it was. The first episode was definitely a better one.
Yeah, I don't remember a sequel one like that.
Yeah, I looked it up a while back.
The first one I definitely remember though. That was a great episode.
And I remember Sink the Montana. That was good. This one with the they're gonna scrap the Montana, I think, and the captain refuses. He actually joins Cobra, and then
even gets his own uniform.
Yep, and then he realizes in the end, well, that's probably was a stupid idea, and now I'm gonna get court-martialed and all that. It's been a little while since I've seen that one.
Yeah.
One particular, because it was technically a mini-series, but Arise, Serpentor, Arise. That gave me some inspiration for some of my own work later on. Although not for the reasons anyone who knows about Serpentor might think. Because, the whole thing was that Dr. Mindbender was inspired to create him from a dream where he got the DNA from all of history's greatest conquerors and leaders. So, a little dash of Attila the Hun, a little bit of Genghis Khan, a little bit of, Alexander the Great, and we got Serpentor out of it. This I command!
And the crazy part is, due to a foul up, they weren't able to get one historic leader's DNA material, so they subbed in some of Sergeant Slaughter's, because this miniseries also introduced Sergeant Slaughter to the cartoon.
Mm-hmm. There's this
in fact, Hawk.
I was gonna say.
In fact, the original leader Hawk doesn't even show up until the second miniseries, and that's only because he was getting a new action figure.
Side note, actually, that's one of my favorite action figures. I just love the
Mine
redesign they
too.
gave him. But there was a bit in there where Sergeant Slaughter fights basically an early version of Serpentor, which was poisoned or something, so it turns into some weird monster.
Yep.
That bit in particular actually inspired me to write a sequence in a still work in progress story that I'm hoping to finish sometime this century. But it was a direct inspiration for that. So, but yeah, that gave rise to Serpentor and having the whole business between him and Cobra Commander. And we inevitably have to go ahead and touch upon G.I. Joe, the movie.
Yep. A movie
Which I
more
have
loved
not
for its
seen,
intro.
for better or worse. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was about to say a movie loved more for its introduction than the actual movie.
Yeah, because
So I've heard.
the retcons they did in that were just like, what? And, oh. Okay, well, let's see. You find out that Serpentor wasn't actually Dr. Mindbender's idea. It was put there into his brain by and this is when it gets really weird, Cobra Law. Which is one of the dumbest names ever. Especially their battle cry there. Cobra la 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 la.
I'm running out of energy, so I'm not going to try and replicate that.
That's okay, Mike. And it focuses on a lot of the new Joes like Falcon and Jinx and who was it that never got an action figure out of it? Was it Big Lob?
Big Lob.
Yeah, that's
Big
what I
Lob
thought.
never. Big Lob didn't get a figure until some convention exclusive in the 2000s, I think.
I didn't even remember reading about that. But I know who did get an action figure, and I was very grateful for that. Nemesis Enforcer.
He was cool.
He was. So Cobra Law is apparently where Cobra came from, or at least Cobra Commander originally. There's some kind of ancient civilization beneath the Himalayas, and it's like this weird mutant thing, all these weird biological creations and stuff that end up capturing most of the old Joes. And they're led by a creature called Galobulus, who's voiced by Burgess Meredith.
Which is fucking crazy, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there were two really controversial points in this movie. One is when you find out that this is actually where Cobra Commander is from, and because he's screwed up so royally, they're going to de-evolve him from what he is into a snake.
I will give you this one, though. Was once some man.
And Roblox saying, "Shut up, you're driving me crazy."
Yeah. So that's just really, I don't know. I didn't like that retcon for Cobra Commander. Because he always looked completely human. But apparently it was some kind of Cobra Law royalty or a lord or something like that who was disfigured.
He said he was a scientist.
Scientist, that was it. Anyway, he was disfigured in an experiment, and they chose him to go out and form Cobra and take over the world. You know, like he's supposed to be the brain or somebody like that.
There's some sort of real,
if,
it was me all along Austin bullshit or whatever. I don't know.
And like you said, it's a retcon because in the comics, the whole thing was he's an unidentified used car dealer because, I mean, you know how shady they are.
Oh, yeah.
He's a used car dealer who got sold, he got soiled on the American dream, and he said he just came up with his own plots and ideas, and Cobra built up from just being kind of like almost a corporate scheme and being an army. And I mean, he even found a way he basically erased who he was. They don't know who he is still.
Yeah.
And that was going to kind of go into the cartoon where they were going to it was going to be similar. And there's going to be an episode called, I think it was called The Most Dangerous Man. And it was the guy who basically wrote and came up with the philosophy that Cobra hijacked and built an organization around, but they keep them locked up. But I forgot why they said they can't just kill them off. But it's, there was a more grounded idea of what Cobra became, but they didn't film the episode because Hasbro wanted to really hype up this 3-pack of figures with Globulus, Nemesis Enforcer, and one of those crustacean looking guards.
Those things were
the
cool.
Royal Guard.
Yeah.
They were all cool figures, but Hasbro wanted to make them more important, so they told them that they had to put them in the movie, have them be behind Cobra, and tie Cobra Commander into it. So it's shoehorned and everybody could kind of feel it. But Cobra La, it was supposed to be it was a play on Shangri-La, the concept of that, what Cobra La was. And that's how the writers pitched. They said, we don't have a name for it, so we just called it Cobra La. But some executives said, no, that's a great name. That's what they should be called. And the writer's like, no, please, don't do this.
It's at this point where you want to just...
I'm begging you, don't do this.
You want to just reach back in time and just smack the guy.
Yeah, because that's what it wrecks the movie so much, but they couldn't do anything. And go ahead.
Speaking of movies getting wrecked, the other controversial point. Think of this: the death, and I use quotes around death, of Duke.
Yeah, he went out like Sven did in Voltron.
But he that was supposed to be an action. He was going to die until they looked at Transformers, the movie, and said, "Well, that really just traumatized kids. When Optimus Prime died, we can't kill Duke. They'll be just as traumatized." So they hastily scribbled together a few lines of how Duke's going to be all right. Meanwhile, they're all crying and stuff. It's like, well, that didn't match up now, did it? And
but
then, yeah,
you'll explain how the Transformers the movie went in your part.
Oh yeah,
that was a big thing.
It's still one of my favorite movies to this day. So I'll probably spend quite a bit of time talking about it. But G.I. Joe the movie, not so much.
Yeah, but like I said in the beginning, everybody remembers it for the insane intro sequence where there's almost an entire episode's worth of action just in the intro.
Yeah,
where there's basically the big Cobra airship that kind of looks like the Shield helicarrier. There's a celebration going on down below around the Statue of Liberty. Cobra comes in with the airship and just starts dropping off troopers parachuting. Troopers and Crimson Guard and people with jetpacks and Trouble Bubble flight pods. And then G.I. Joe comes in. And it's not just a few members of G.I. Joe. I think somewhere in an interview, Larry Houston, the storyboard artist who came up with the sequence, said everybody who was a G.I. Joe member ever before the movie shows up in the intro.
Damn.
At least for a second. And there's all kind of stuff like Bazooka's running with his AT-4 rocket launcher, and as he's running he trips, the rocket launcher goes off, the rocket flies, shipwreck, jumps out of the way at the last second, and when the rocket hits, it hits one of those Cobra Moray boats in the water.
I forgot about that.
And this is just like this is like maybe what 4 or 5 seconds, if that. There's a part where somebody's flying a Cobra's in one of those flight pods, and there's also one of those Firebat small mini jets. Alpine basically uses his hook to jump off the Statue of Liberty to hijack the Firebat, while Snake Eyes jumps on the Cobra flight pod, flips it so that the guy falls out, and then he jumps in the seat. They switch back over to Alpine, who smashes through the window, causes the Firebat to spin out of control, And before it crashes, Alpine jumps off, and Snake Eyes in the flight pod catches him. And that's all, what, maybe 8 seconds?
Yeah.
That would be a whole scene in a cartoon episode. There's just stuff like this happening all over the place for minutes. And to be honest, whenever I get the disc or the VHS tape of the movie, I'm buying it for the intro more than the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Now, there were a couple other episodes of the show I wanted to touch on. I watched it just recently, can't think of the name. I posted a screenshot, but it was, or a couple of screenshots actually. It was one where Shipwreck's telling a story to a bunch of orphans.
Oh, Once Upon a Joe.
That's it. Yeah. That was probably one of the funnier episodes I'd seen.
And that's a fan favorite.
Yeah. It's like, especially when
Did you want to did you want to talk about it, or?
We'll talk a little bit about it, just the fantasy sequence in particular, where Shipwreck's telling his story. The part, what were they? I forget what he called the three of them, but you had Scarlet Lady, Jane, CoverGirl all up here.
Yeah, they were like I think they were like fairy stepsisters or something almost like fairy godmothers. And one of the kids says, "Don't you mean fairy godmothers?" Like, no, it's like fairy stepsisters. These are new government issue. And he's saying this to a bunch of kids. It's like, how do kids know what government issue is?
Yeah, exactly. I just remember,
but that's Shipwreck.
Remember, wait, wasn't that the same episode with the MacGuffin device?
I think it was. Right at the end, they find out that it projects the user's thoughts and turns it into physical projections. Exactly. So all the stuff that he says in the fairy tale starts coming true. And they're these little and as he's telling the story, you see little cartoon versions of the G.I. Joe characters in the story. So when the MacGuffin device goes off, they're running around for real alongside the regular ones.
Yeah, I remember seeing what was it, the three fairy stepsisters where they're all like floating around Leatherneck, and he's just like, the hell? That whole episode was great, though. But
yeah, that, like I said, that's a fan favorite.
There is one character who had a couple episodes, not exactly devoted to him, but he was kind of a major player in them that we haven't talked about. Storm Shadow.
Yep.
There was that one episode, I think it was Countdown for Zartan. Like, at the beginning, the Dreadnoks are teaching Cobra trainees how to do stuff. And like, destroy the foundation, and the rest comes tumbling down. And the bit about the plastic explosive and the detonator that Doc turns around on towards the end. Yeah, they didn't realize I pulled their detonator. But Storm Shadow's training some guys. And he's like, anyone can use a weapon, but the ninja is a weapon. And he jumps up and starts beating the crap out of this tank. And at the end, he lands, and Dreadnoks are like, oh, yeah, what good's that going to do? They're laughing at him. All of a sudden, the tank starts to quiver, and then it just falls to pieces. And the three trainees bow to Storm Shadow and follow him, and the Dreadnoks are just standing there, open mouthed, like, how do you do that? But yeah, anything with Storm Shadow, it was usually a good time.
He was one of the most popular figures. I mean, not just for me thinking about my childhood and how everybody was trying to get one, because he was hard to find. Because ninjas were popular in the 80s. Everybody snatched that figure up. Mm-hmm. He was so popular. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I got a story about that, but I'll wait till you're done.
Okay. He was so popular. They usually just continued. They produced G.I. Joe figures for about 2 years, and then he kind of took them out of rotation. That was the whole thing. Like I said, that's why Hawk wasn't the leader in the original cartoons, because they were going to put him out to pasture, so to speak. So they said, well, we'll have Duke run it. But Storm Shadow ran for 3 years. They ran him an extra year. He's on the back of the cards if you want to go look on yojo.com. because he was that popular.
Mm-hmm.
And the writer who gave him his background, Larry Hama, he didn't want the only Asian character at first that was in the series at first to be a villain. So he came up with a redemption arc for him. So even when he started in the comics, there's a sense that there was more of a good guy to him than he appeared to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that carried over into the cartoon. So that's why you see him pop up in so many things. He carries that same character where he's not as underhanded as the other Cobra characters are.
Nope. And then around, what was it, 87, 88, when they did the second version of him as a figure. And it was just now he was affiliated with G.I. Joe. And he had that really awesome looking outfit.
Yeah, with the crazy L-shaped and L-shaped camouflage on him.
Yep, and how they actually had one of the sleeves. You could see on his arm the tattoo of his clan.
Yeah, because that's how you found out that Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow were connected in the comics, because they had a silent issue, number 21. They had to rush it, so they couldn't afford time to have somebody letter it. They said, okay, we'll draw a silent issue, see how it works out. Turned out to be a legendary thing that happened, because people have been copying it since.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the issue, Snake Eyes' sleeve was torn in battle. So in the last page of it, you see Snake Eyes' bare arm with these they're called trigrams. It's part of the I Ching. It's kind of like I forgot what the whole deal with it is, but each trigram has its own meaning, and you stack 2 trigrams on each other. So the one that was on Snake Eyes' arm, and then you see Storm Shadow, and the wraps are off of his arm, and all of a sudden you see the same symbol on his arm, and that's the end of the issue. So we're waiting a month to see, oh crap, how are they connected? And that tattoo first shows up on an action figure that Rob just described, the second Storm Shadow.
Yeah, I remember finding that one in stores and just being like, oh my god, there's a new Storm Shadow. Oh, and he's had that tattoo. So awesome. But as far as the original Storm Shadow is concerned, I had a running bet with a friend of mine at the time as to who would find him first. So I had my grandmother wanted to go shopping one day at the local Super Stop and Shop, and I forget if she asked if I wanted to go or not, but I went with her, so it was just the 2 of us. Now, my grandmother being my grandmother, she was not usually the nicest person in the world. But we get into the store. I go over to look at the toys. She goes off to get something. She's coming back. So I'm looking through the G.I. Joe figures, of course. And very last figure in one of the rows is Storm Shadow. And I was just like, you know. And it's like, I found him. I'm going to beat Chuck. I ain't got no money. Oh, man. I got to hide him so no one else finds him. I can come back and get him with my parents. Before I could do any of that, my grandmother walks up. She's like, all right, let's go. We got to go over to this part of the store. Huh? All right. And then she did something which was kind of rare for her. She looks at me and she's like, is that the one you want? Yeah. Put him in the cart. Okay. But when we get to the car, you don't open him. I don't want to mess in my car. No problem. You wait till you get home. Sure thing. So, of course, get home, rip him open, outfit him with all the cool stuff, and then I was immediately on the phone with Chuck. It's like, guess who found Storm Shadow? Guess who wins the bet? So, yeah. Wish I still had that.
I love that story, though.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it shows how big of a deal he was, though. I mean, that's how people were. That's how kids were about him back then. I mean, I had to find a second Storm Shadow because somebody stole the first one I had.
Ah, damn.
Oh,
bogus.
That sucks. How long did that take you?
Yeah. That took a long, long time, and I only got it because I think it was at the Gray Drugstore. It was in the plaza near me. And since their stuff was higher, it took longer to sell. So that it turned out to be the place to go. Where if you wanted to find something that was kind of old, maybe you went there and maybe you lucked in to find it because nobody wanted to pay that price unless they were desperate. And I was desperate because it was Storm Shadow.
Yeah, I mean, God, Storm Shadow.
The modern collector story.
Yep.
On a side note regarding Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, I like the fact that Snake Eyes kind of morphed from Commando into G.I. Joe Ninja. It's like
That made him so much cooler.
Yep, it's like his original figure was all black, and he had a mask, but he didn't have a sword or anything. He had, I think, he had an Uzi, right?
Yep, he had an Uzi and a satchel of explosives.
And then when they did the new figure in '85, he all of a sudden has the backpack, the sword, and his wolf, and of course his costume's been totally redesigned. He had that visor this time.
And it was crazy that the wolf came from the cartoon. That's the thing about G.I. Joe. You had the toy line starting it off. You had the comic where Larry Hama was kind of going in his own direction with some stuff. But then the cartoon also went into a direction. And the cartoon, in the first miniseries, you see where Snake Eyes finds Timber after he gets this radioactive material that's going to power this machine that's going to fight the machine that Cobra had already built. He runs into him in the wherever they were in this, I don't know which Arctic or Antarctic region they were in, but that's the origin of that. G.I. Joe has different origins for everything. The file card for Bazooka, the character that's known on the cartoon for being kind of slow, his file card said the entire reason why he has the job he has, he started off, he's gonna be in the tank, and when it dawned on him that an illiterate farmer with a rocket launcher could destroy a tank easily, he signed up to be the guy with the rocket launcher. But the funny part is the illiterate farmer is the cartoon version of Bazooka, because he's not all there. Every once in a while he'll show how smart he is, but there are episodes where he's just kind of bumbling around like a cartoon. Well, he is a cartoon character, but you know what I mean.
Well, let's not forget too that
mad levels of lethally stupid.
let's not forget too that he once saw a sea serpent.
Oh yeah. And that completely plays into that one because nobody believes him because he's kind of simple.
Yep. And the episode was actually titled Bazooka Saw a Sea Serpent.
And that's the name of it.
Yep. So, being as how it's we're going into almost a 3-hour mark now, we should probably go ahead and move on to our last subject. But first, I wanted to give Mike the floor for a minute because he asked us to talk about one of the other greatest G.I. Joe parodies for a moment. And I think you know what I'm talking about, don't you, Mike?
Well, does it involve any PSAs from Crack Stuntman, the guy who plays the gun shaver on the Cheat Command show?
Riggedy roll.
Yeah, I mean, only having been somewhat peripherally knowledgeable on G.I. Joe by the time Homestar Runner made its own very loving parody of the series in the 2000s. I mean, Cheat Commandos, it was known as, which was a bunch of G.I. Joe figures based on one of their central characters, the Cheat, who were just like in various costumes with all these packaging, describing what they were doing, like, you know, Firebird needs a better commando name and so forth. Rip Burger isn't wearing pajamas or what have you. I'd have to look up exactly what their packaging said, but, like, yeah, they made a parody. It was very much directly riffing on G.I. Joe in particular, but it was also kind of like a catch-all jab at lots of 80s shows of the time. Like, you'd probably see a little bit of Transformers, a little bit of TMNT in there as well. It was, like, made by their version of Hasbro was known as cheap as free toys, and like the outright slogan. It's like the theme song, G Commandos, something something and something, buy our playsets and toys. It's like it was like as if like the accusation of these series being quote unquote toy commercials was just like really full tilt and making fun of the how they would be regarded as such. And I mean, as our discussion showed, like, G.I. Joe was most certainly not that blunt about it. I mean, you could argue at the end of the day, yes, it was maybe a really elaborate toy commercial, but there was a lot more going for it than just what you'd see prima facie there. That is not the case for Cheat Commandos, which is very cheaply made and very obviously meant to push its various figures like Gunhaver and Fight Gar and the action figure storage truck, as it's just so bluntly named.
Hey, let's not forget, too, we need reinforcements. Did somebody say my name? Reinforcements!
Reinforcements! Justice, Rocket, Backpack, Rocket, Fire! And then in the show itself, Reinforcements, whenever anyone would ask for him, he just shows up and casually says, "Hey, guys."
Yeah.
But, and of course, the Cobra Force in the series was called Blue Laser, and their leader, just simply known as Blue Laser Commander, had a ridiculously scratchy voice, like, "I just hate you so much." Like as a riff on Chris Latta, rest in peace, his memorably high-pitched hiss that he had for Cobra Commander, but here it's even more exaggerated, and just anything you can think about G.I. Joe's just taken up to like 50 times the ridiculousness here. Like, there's one episode where Crack Stuntman, the voice of Gunhaver, got his demands to be way too big, and like he wanted to voice Krakatoj instead of Gunhaver. Krakatoj, who's kind of like a poke at Roadblock because he likes making rhymes a lot. And there was one point where Crack wanted his girlfriend to voice a new bad guy girl character, and then the show writer H. Mendez would like lure Crack Stuntman into like a box with a contract and then like mail him off to the other side of the world. And then Reynolds, the like accountant, the nerd of the Cheat Commandos, would say something like, "Too bad that Gunhaver went to a special mission to the moon. When he comes back, his voice might have changed."
Yeah.
Something like that. And there's also a very clear riff on the Dreadnoks, known here as the Doppelgangers, which they outright call the sometimes good guys, sometimes bad guys whose allegiance is only to the highest bidder. And one of them was a clown named Fudge Clank for some reason, who's just there because, in a ridiculous rainbow wig and whatnot, because why not?
And
Let's
not forget what Reynolds said one time that just started a whole thing. "I'm gonna go get teen pregnant."
Easy there, cheat cuss Mando. You just made an inappropriate peer-to-teen choice behavior.
Exactly.
So you done making inappropriate peer-to-teen choice awards now? Or whatever he said at the end of
Yes.
"Hey kid, wanna smoke some candy with me?" Every Cheat Commando short has just been absolutely hilarious. Knowing more now about G.I. Joe, it is even more hilarious. But I still knew what they were getting at back then, and like, when we have our Homestar roundtable, which I gather will be pretty soon,
yeah.
I'd love to talk about it in more detail and all their other sub shows they have, like Teen Girl Squad and The Adventures of Limousine.
Oh, don't worry, we will.
Arrowed.
Yes.
But
yes,
I will say this about the Cheat Commandos. Let's not forget they had their own cereal at one point, the Cheat Commando O's.
O's. Ridiculous breakfast by our playsets and toys.
What
and then Fight Gar in the front of the box saying,
These aren't O's. That's the part that always got me. All right. So, we're finally moving on to the final cartoon for the night. Is a world transformed where things are not as they seem. A world of heroic Autobots and evil Decepticons. We now return to the Transformers. So yes, it's Transformers time.
And unfortunately, I must step out, which is a shame because Optimus Prime is one of my favorite characters of all time, as is the Transformers movie.
Freedom is the right of all sentient beings.
It sure is.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try to
Back
pick
of the
up the
box.
slack in place of you, Snar, but I definitely don't know as much about the Transformers as you do, so I'm sorry.
This is where...
To be fair, I'm more familiar with the toy line than the show. It's the opposite with G.I. Joe, where I was more into the show than the toys, so I wouldn't have too much to say about the show other than the movie, so...
Fair bingus.
Well, this is where Prime and I are going to tag team.
Yeah, and I'm probably mostly just going to be observer. I'll chime in where I can, but I'm going to let you guys take the floor on this.
But yeah, Snarb,
Yes.
have a good night, man.
Take
All
care,
right, thanks, sir. Thanks for
so
having
much for
me.
joining us,
Oh, yeah.
man.
Oh, anytime.
You are welcome.
We'll have you
We'll have
back.
to have you on the future streams as well.
Yes, we'll have you back in the future again for sure.
Yay. All right, take it easy, guys.
Later.
Take it easy, man.
Night, Mo. You have a good one too.
Oh, good night, bro.
Hey, Mo.
Yeah, leave
Hey,
before the
take care. Thank you
Transformers
so
one.
much for joining us.
I'm about to do a whole bunch of talking and you leave, Mo. Oh man.
Guilt.
Anyway, yeah, have a good night, Mo. So, the Transformers. All right. Prime, I'm going to assume that mostly everyone here knows about the story of Transformers, but I'll give them a quick recap anyway. Basically, there's a planet called Cybertron, and it's the residents of the planet, who are the Autobots and the Decepticons, have been at war for untold amount of years, and they've basically drained the planet dry of resources, you know, all the energy and whatnot. And in the Autobots, who are led by Optimus Prime, who is my avatar there, and where also, if I recall, Prime gets his name from.
Yep.
Prime leads a group
That's
of
right.
Autobots out on a vehicle called the Ark to try and find a new source of energy. And the Decepticons follow them and ambush them. And as a result, the Ark crashes into the planet they were observing. 4 million years pass, and where they crash is now a volcano which erupts and awakens the ship's computer, Teletran 1. Which then it sends a drone out to explore, and they find all the different vehicles as of like the 80s, you know, so they're scanning cars and trucks and airplanes, and they go back and the Teletran starts reviving. It doesn't differentiate between the Autobots and Decepticons. So it gets the Decepticons first, and of course they fly off and leave the Autobots for dead. Until, I think it's Prime is the first one to get revived. So, anyway, it's been 4 million years now. They're back again, and it's like they are just picking up where they left off. So, this was one of those. Which do you encounter first, Prime? The cartoon or the toys?
I saw the toys first,
Yeah, same here.
believe it or not.
Yeah, in fact, the first one, I remember, you know, seeing something about them in passing, but I think it was in the second wave of toys they did. They did what were they, the jump starters? Where you,
Yep.
yes, and I remember thinking these were cool, and I found this one, Topspin, I think was his name, because there was Topspin and Twin Twist, and Topspin was my first one, and that just led to me looking into it, finding out about the show, and just becoming a major Transformers fan. So it's like I have my Joes, I have my Transformers, and you know, that was just the tip of the toy iceberg for me in the 80s. But, you know, eventually started getting more of them. I always wanted to get Megatron, but never did. I had Prime.
He was
though.
hard to find.
Oh, yeah. especially considering he transformed into a very realistic looking Walther P-38.
Yeah.
But I had Prime, I had Soundwave, Blaster. I had all the cassettes for both the Autobots and Decepticons. Okay, Sharon, the ones you're talking about they're called combiners, and the first ones they did for those were the Constructicons. So it was basically a bunch of construction vehicles that would combine, and they'd have their own individual robot forms, but then they would all combine into a giant robot called Devastator. You probably remember Ryan had the whole thing at one point. So, but they did a few more like that. Like there was the aerial bots, the what were the
Stunticons.
Stunticons, yep. And they weren't the same ones as, or maybe did they debut alongside the aerial bots?
Yeah, they're kind of across from each other in a way. I think they might have even debuted in the same series of episodes.
That wouldn't surprise
me. I'm not sure
me.
Though.
But so regarding the cartoon though, and I just recently rewatched the first 5 or 6 episodes. It just, a couple things didn't sit well with me. I mean, it was great seeing them on Cybertron at the very beginning and seeing like the cool vehicle modes we never got here. Like
until recently.
Yeah. But it seemed like once they revived on Earth, it was that, well, we need to get energy so we can get back to our planet. And that's going to be our main thing that we're going to do throughout the course of the series here. And at the end of the first 3 episodes, which I guess was intended to be a miniseries,
Transformers More Than Meets the Eye.
Yeah. The Decepticon ship crashes, and the world's governments unite to help the Autobots repair the Ark and go back to Cybertron. And I guess Spike and Sparkplug are going with them. Spike and Sparkplug being 2 of the humans the Autobots first encountered, who were father and son team. Sparkplug being the father and Spike being his son.
Sparkplug is honest to Christ's birth name. Did his father name him Sparkplug because he hated him? That's all I want to know.
Okay, remember what the Lee brothers were called in the Double Dragon game? Yeah, the arcade game originally. Spike and Hammer.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
But their real names are actually Billy and Jimmy Lee.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a nickname. Jeez.
I sure hope so, dude.
So do I, because if he really is named Sparkplug, I have questions. But then they go to episode 4, and it's like they're still on Earth. The Ark's still stuck in the mountain, and it's like, what happened to all that stuff from the end of the 3rd episode? Was this just going to be a limited series? Then they decided, hey, let's go ahead and keep it going. It's pretty popular. I mean, that would be my guess, anyway.
Yeah, that's the thing I'd like to see more documentation on, because I remember it was just a mini series, and then I don't see anything about the things that followed it, how they were aired, but it was more of an ongoing storyline. It was, and I can't remember if it was week to week or day to day, because for some reason I have a weird memory of seeing like these early Transformers episodes, not the miniseries, but the things that follow right after it.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I remember seeing them on the weekend, but I can't find any information on that.
That would be very interesting.
And then by the time the series 2 figures hit, then I remember seeing it like on the week, like a weekday thing.
Mm-hmm.
But those early episodes, they all kind of come together into like a long running storyline for a while.
Yeah, with just that hiccup between the end of More Than Meets the Eye and the start of the actual series. It's like...
Yeah, it just seems like we had to keep this status quo going for some reason.
So we're just
instead of what you said, which is... Yeah.
Yeah, we're just going to ignore the ending of More Than Meets the Eye and just go like they're stuck here, like the world's government's never agreed to help them. But,
I mean, to be fair, they can only do so much because, I mean, what kind of space travel did we have at that point?
That's true. So I chalked up to being something like that. Maybe they just couldn't get the Ark out of the mountain. It's like, yep, she's wedged in there pretty tight. Can't really pull it out.
And not only that, the Decepticons still being around kind of threw a monkey wrench into things because they kind of thought the Decepticons were finished at the end of the miniseries.
And then you see...
So that probably interrupted the whole idea of, okay, we're going to work to get back to Cybertron. It's like, no, we have to finish what we started.
Yeah. I remember the end of the miniseries, you see their ship crash underwater, and all of a sudden a panel opens and Megatron comes swimming out.
Yep.
So.
And the Autobots don't know it.
Nope. But somehow they found out, which I think they explain in the 4th episode there. And something else that also got me. Megatron left Shockwave in charge of Cybertron while he was gone. And you see in this episode, Shockwave's trying to communicate with Megatron. I would figure at least one of the other Decepticons would have come. It's like, dude, it's been 4 million years. You haven't raised him before now. What makes you think this is going to be any different? It's like, no, Megatron's still out there. I can feel it in my circuits.
Yeah, if anybody would have kept trying, it was probably Shockwave.
Yeah. Who was another toy I never had, but I remember a friend of mine did, and he was pretty badass.
Did he have the real one, or did he have Shockwave? That's the name they call the Radio Shack gray figure. They call him Shockwave.
No, this was distinctly purple.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I just remember as the series went along, I followed it, and they started introducing more and more characters like the Dinobots and some of the new mini vehicles like Cosmos and Sea Spray and of course more human characters too, like the chick that eventually ended up marrying Spike.
Wasn't it Cassie or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. And plus the kid in the wheelchair.
Chip.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like by the end of season 2, it was just like, well, things are still going on. And then they dropped a very unexpected monkey wrench into things. Transformers the movie. Yep. It was like, we'll go ahead and do a time jump here about 20 years. And they're still fighting the war. But obviously things are changed. Spike's growing up. He's married the chick. They have a son now, Daniel. And we have new Transformers who have come in from Cybertron, and the Decepticons have somehow beaten the Autobots back to the point where they only control 2 of the moons. And that's basically where it started. It's like, it is the year 2005. The treacherous Decepticons have conquered the Autobots' home planet of Cybertron. Movie, it just, there's something about that which just... it resonates with me. I don't know what it is exactly, but
it comes together in a way that
oh no, good.
Oh, it comes together in a way that the G.I. Joe movie never seems to, really. I mean, it.
All right, Brandon. Have a good night.
Good night, Brandon. Sorry about that. Didn't see that until now.
Hey, take care, sir.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's easily the better of the 2 movies on just in any basic terms. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that happened, but we're lucky for it.
Yeah. And on top of that, it's like, besides the movie itself being as good as it ended up being, it had a killer soundtrack. Both the score and the actual soundtrack. I mean, Vince DiCola did the score.
Seriously.
Yeah. Like, and then you had, granted, they were little 80s metal bands that no one had ever heard of before or since for the most part, but every song fit what part it was with so well. Like, one of my first memories of watching the movie after getting caught up on the time jump and all that was when Prime announced he's launching the shuttle with Laserbeak spying on him, brings the info back to Megatron. Now, all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck. More than you can imagine, Optimus Prime. And when the Decepticons board the shuttle at the beginning, and that song Instruments of Destruction starts playing, Megatron screams, "Die, Autobot," transforms, and they actually start dying. It's like they just got killed. They killed off Transformers. It's like, who was there? I mean, you had who was the
And that just in the shuttle, it was Prowl, Ironhide,
yep,
Brawn, and Ratchet.
and all of them were taken out. Ironhides had to have been the one that hurt the most, though, just because of the way he went.
Yep.
Such heroic.
Which is ironic
nonsense.
because the toy didn't even have a head.
Yeah, neither did Ratchet. It's funny though. At the time, we owned a Toyota van, and it was pretty close in color to Ironhide. So
Nice.
we named it Ironhide. But just the way he grabs Megatron's leg, he's like, no! And, of course, he just happens to be on the wrong side right below Megatron's fusion cannon. And Megatron, such heroic nonsense. Boom, he's gone. It's like,
Yep,
oh,
a shot so strong it blows a hole in the bottom of the ship.
yeah. It's like, yeah, Ironhide didn't make it out of that one. And of course, you had the battle for Autobot City. And that's where you first get introduced to Daniel. Love how Cup was such a gruff, old, unit at the time. And he just always pissed off at Hot Rod. Because that was like, I think that was actually one of the, if not the first new character to be introduced. He was one of the first.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because you had Hot Rod and then Cup, and then characters like Springer and Blur and whatnot. But, of course, there's also the driving force behind the movie, which is Unicron. Which, if you've never seen it, imagine a Transformer the size of a planet that eats other planets. Kind of hard to top that.
Yeah, because at first we don't even know it's a Transformer.
Nope. And
At first it's just Mechanical Planet. Go ahead.
you get the idea what's going on, but later on in the movie, well, before we get to that point, we should probably talk about the final battle between Prime and Megatron, which is really intense. And Megatron ends up taking Hot Rod as a hostage and blowing a few holes in Prime. And just as he's basically saying, what's his exact line? I would have waited an eternity for this. It's over, Prime. And Prime just summons up the last of his strength and just comes back with both hands. Never! And just knocks him off the side of what's left of that part of Autobot City they're on. And the Decepticons retreat. Starscream finally lives up to his evil ambitions, because they evacuate an Astro Train. And when Astro Train tells them they need to jettison some weight or they'll never make it to Cybertron, Starscream makes his move. He chucks Megatron out the side, who then runs right into Unicron. Unicron has orders for him to destroy the Autobot Matrix of Leadership, which we've never heard of or seen until now, by the way. And, Megatron's trying to, bargain with him. What do I get? What's in it for me? So he tells him, I'll give you a new body, new troops to command. So the other Decepticons that were thrown out all get pulled in, and first thing he does is turn Megatron into Galvatron, voiced by none other than Mr. Spock.
Mm-hmm.
And the other Decepticons are taken and turned into these other new Decepticons, Scourge and the Sweeps and Cyclonus. And then there's a funny bit actually back on Cybertron where Starscream's having a coronation because he's declared himself to be the new leader. But yet another example of how willing they were to just destroy Transformers in this movie, because when Galvatron shows up, it's like, who disrupts my coronation? Coronation, Starscream. This is bad comedy. Megatron, is that you? Here's a hint. And he turns into a cannon and just blows Starscream into rubble. Okay, but anyway, later on, when you find out that Unicron is actually a giant transformer, Galvatron's managed to get his hands on the Matrix of Leadership, and he's trying to use it to destroy Unicron. And, well, he can't open it. Probably because he didn't realize where the buttons were. You ever notice that? Anyone who tries to open the Matrix is not putting their fingers through the obvious finger holes. They're just trying to, like, grab it by one side or whatever and pull it open. And, well, that pisses Unicron off. And that's when he starts to change. And the look on Galvatron's face at that point is just sheer horror. And I just love it. He's like, for a time I considered sparing your wretched little planet, Cybertron. But now you shall witness its dismemberment. Funny thing was, the voice cast they got for this movie was stellar. I mean, Orson Welles was the voice of Unicron. It was his last film role ever. And apparently, he sounded so bad while they were doing it, they had to use all sorts of tricks to bring it up into this menacing growl. Because he was in pretty sad shape at the time. You had Leonard Nimoy as Galvatron, Robert Stack, the Unsolved Mysteries guy, as Ultra Magnus. And if anyone remembers those Micro Machines commercials with guy
John Machida.
Yeah, he was Blur. And Judd Nelson was Hot Rod.
Mm-hmm.
And Eric Idle was Wreck-Gar, the Junkion.
That's right, I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, they talk TV. Do you talk some TV? I talk some TV. Now the news. Don't touch that dial. But yeah, as the movie goes on, it's basically a running chase, with the Autobots getting split up. One half lands on this weird-looking planet. The others land on the planet of Junkion. And the weird-looking planet is called Quintessa, which featured a major character, a race that would be, figure into the later episodes of the series, the Quintessons, who...
Yeah, those multi-faced judge thingies that were really weird and hostile.
I love those guys.
Really interesting design, yeah.
Like, the Death's Head skull was my favorite out of all of them.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's just too cool looking.
Mm-hmm. As the Imperial Magistrate reached a verdict, I have guilty or innocent. Innocent. Feed him to the Sharktacons. Sharktacons were pretty awesome, too.
There's a kangaroo court they had going there, huh?
Yep.
That mockery of justice.
Yeah, spare me this mockery of justice. Yeah, that's the first time you get introduced to Unicrons at the beginning of the movie when he eats a freaking planet. And there's like one survivor. And he gets eaten by Sharktacons later on.
That sucks.
I also love how the Dinobots storm in and basically establish themselves as the pack leaders over the Sharktacons.
Yeah, it's funny that the Dinobots were spared the wrath that all the other earlier figures ended up catching and have a sizable role in the movie.
Yeah. It's like, well, in a way, it kind of goes back to the whole dinosaur thing we were talking about earlier. Kids love dinosaurs.
Yeah, and they weren't stupid enough to kill off a bunch of very popular dinosaur characters.
Exactly. Especially Grimlock. Me, Grimlock, love challenge. Meanwhile, on Junkion, that's where the Decepticons ambush the Autobots and actually destroy Ultra Magnus. That's how Galvatron gets the Matrix. And after they leave and the surviving Autobots then get attacked by the Junkions. I just, so many good lines in that bit. It's like, it's not hard knocking them down, it's getting them to stay down that's the trick. Which reminds
Springer
me,
had a lot of great lines.
my favorite Springer line of all happened earlier during the battle for Autobot City. I think right around the time that Devastator made his entrance. And he picks up a shell and he's like, I got better things to do tonight than die. Love that line.
That line was better than so many tough guy lines and dead serious live action Schwarzenegger and Stallone style movies.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's so many movies that did not touch that. They couldn't touch that line.
Mm-hmm. It was just, I got better things to do tonight than die. That's just great. I did appreciate how Devastator's intro was handled in that. You know, Megatron's like, Constructicons merge for the kill. And Daniel calls Cub over. He's like, look, Devastator. And then the music gets all really ominous and you see him turn into Devastator and prepare for extermination. It's like, yeah. Except, I remember also thinking at the time, why is Devastator the focus? Don't they have all these other combiner teams now? What's going on?
Got a theory about that. You realize that you don't really see much of the later. You don't see any of. Actually, you don't see any of the other combiners in it. Period.
Nope.
Remember when I said I heard behind the scene, well, read behind the scenes that all this stuff was being developed kind of in slow motion. Mm-hmm. So characters appeared as they were working on it.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been how Transformers the movie went, because you don't see the Stunticons or the aerial bots,
nope,
or the Combaticons or any of that. And they all appeared in season 2, but I think they were when they were working on the beginning of the movie, they may have been at the point where Devastator was the only combiner they had at that point.
Yeah. Plus, when you think about how long it takes to animate something, you know, it could be possible the plans for the movie were in the works before they even introduced them into the cartoon or something like that.
Yeah. In fact, you don't even see any of the late. I don't think you see many, or maybe one or two of the later like Autobot cars in there. You see the jets.
Yeah.
You see like the second wave of Seeker jets, but you don't see like the later cars like Smokescreen.
Yeah, in fact, the furthest along they got with the Autobots, if I remember correctly, was basically Perceptor and Blaster.
Yeah.
I always did like that distress call he sends out. All right, cover your receptors, Perceptor.
The late great Buster Jones.
Yeah, he was so good as Blaster too. And of course, let's not forget that's where they introduced the Autobot tapes to combat Soundwave's Decepticon tapes.
Yeah, that was a big moment because everybody was like, "Man, why doesn't Blaster have his tapes?" I don't think they weren't even in the cartoon yet.
No, they weren't. Which is like, wait, if Soundwave has tapes he can use, why doesn't Blaster? And it's like, no, we're making them. They're coming. And it's, the original lineup of Decepticon tapes was classic. I mean, you had Buzzsaw, Laserbeak, Rumble, Frenzy, and of course Ravage, who I think was everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
And then a little later on, they introduced Ratbat. But then it's like that scene in the movie where Blaster kicks Ravage away and sick him. He hits the eject button, and then out comes rewind, eject, and the lion and I think the rhino, whose names I've forgotten.
I can't remember him either. I wasn't lucky enough to have Blaster. Never had any of his tapes.
I made it a point to even collect those past the point where I was collecting Transformers, so they were still making the tapes. So they were some of the last Transformers I ever got. And it was a really, really late issue of Autobot tapes and Decepticon tapes. I can't even remember barely a thing about them now.
Yeah, I can't remember the names of the later tapes myself. I had a set that actually stacked onto each other to make one big robot.
Yes, I remember those.
One I think one was teal and one was purple. one turned into a bird and the other one turned into a gorilla.
Yeah, I think you're right
Can't
about
remember the
that.
names though.
Now, if I ever stumble across them, I'll let you know. The one thing that, of course, all right, we have to talk about the major controversy in the movie, the death of Optimus Prime. Sure, we can kill off a crap ton of Autobots and Decepticons, but when it comes to the big ones, especially the ones that kids look up to almost like a substitute father figure, oh, yeah, there's going to be problems. So yeah, and Prime dies after being mortally wounded by Megatron. You know, Perceptor determines the wounds are fatal in the med lab, and then Prime starts talking about the Autobot matrix of leadership, which, again, we've never seen or heard of until now. And he passes it to Ultra Magnus. And even as he's trying to do that, he falters, and he drops it. And then you get some foreshadowing, because the one who catches is Hot Rod, and it just, like, he grabs it, and it's all light and stuff, and it's like, that might be important later. And he hands it over to Ultra Magnus, who proceeds to place it in his chest piece, where the Matrix apparently goes into every Autobot, because they must all have something like this. And then when Prime dies, when he actually dies, he turns black. His head just kind of tilts to the side. And they're playing this really kind of sad funeral march kind of music, which, again, by the great Vince DiCola. And the last thing you see of that is Daniel just, crying on top of Prime's hand. Yep, all the colors went. and now here's the weird thing. In the later episodes of the series, they did their best. In fact, I think it concluded the series right before the Headmaster showed up. They said, okay, well, we probably made a big mistake because that did traumatize some kids. I actually know one of them. She's a friend of Betty's, who is a big Transformers fan. And she said that movie traumatized the hell out of her. And yeah, there were stories about, kids crying, leaving the theater because Prime was dead and all this, and which what ultimately made them decide to change course with Duke's death in G.I. Joe, the movie. So they get through a couple seasons, all these new Transformers and whatnot, and they're like, you know what? We probably should bring Prime back. He's dead. How are we going to do that? We'll figure it out. And if I remember correctly, there was an episode which involved him coming back initially, but he was like brainwashed or something. And
yeah,
then he, left the planet and basically was shut down. But then there was a two-parter.
I was about to say, I think the way that happened, they may have made that before they realized what the outcry was going to be.
Yeah.
Because that, if anything, that episode made it worse, because it looked like Prime was going to come back for a second, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an extra twist to the knife. It's like, hey kids, did that mess you up? He's back. Psych.
Yeah.
Get back on the playground, you rug rat crumb crushers.
So then they came up with the two-parter, The Return of Optimus Prime, where he actually did come back. And involved this hate plague of some kind.
Yep, I can't remember if it's got another name other than that, but it was definitely driving people. It was driving whoever came in contact with it, whether they were human or Transformer or anything. It was driving them crazy.
Yeah. And of course, Rekgar is still talking TV, being a Junkion. Remember when he gets infected, he turns to Rodimus and he's like, "I'm a Peppa. Would you like to be a Peppa too?" He grabs his arm.
I mean, you couldn't do any better than that. That was a big campaign at the time, and everybody would have known what he was talking about. So.
And at the same time, during the episode, Prime is able to get a few of the Autobots who haven't been infected, but they've been pretty wounded. So the Quintesson, the Skylinks, who was basically the Autobot space shuttle, who he convinced to come back to revive Prime. He ends up fixing all the Autobots they're able to get. And he doesn't just fix Bumblebee. He gives him a total reconstruction job. And he gets a new name, Goldbug.
And he even says it. He says, I'm not a bumblebee anymore. I'm a gold bug.
That you are. So that's what you'll be known as from now on, Goldbug. And they have to get this metal that the Decepticons stole, which basically is impervious to pretty much anything like the spores. So they're able to coat Prime with it. And at this point, all the infected Transformers are trying to get in there and destroy him and whoever's left with him, which I think is just the Quintesson at that point. And Prime has to go into the Matrix and figure out how to stop this plague. And he ends up going backwards through like generations after generation of Autobot leaders until he gets to this one weird looking vector graphic type of Tron head who fills him in. It's like the plague you speak of has been with us once before. And basically, at the end, after the Transformers get into where Prime is, and the Quintesson's just basically begging them to stop, and Galvatron's like, never, Quintesson, this world is ours, Optimus Prime will die again. And then Prime all of a sudden sits up and opens up the Matrix, and you hear the touch just like you do in the movie when Rodimus opens in at the end to destroy Unicron. And for some reason, at that point, the Matrix is empty. Like, everything, all the whatever was inside it, the knowledge, the ghosts, or whatever, they're all gone. Which I thought was really strange.
Yeah, I didn't get it, but, you know.
Yeah, it worked.
I mean, hey, you could count that the knowledge was stored, you know, I guess it would be considered almost data, and that would be energy inside of it. So in some way, I guess when he released that energy just knocked out that plague.
Yeah, that's about the closest thing I could come up with too. Of course, we do have evidence of there being ghosts and Transformers. Look at Starscream.
Yeah,
Starscream's ghost. Yeah, made a bargain with Unicron's head to go ahead and get his body back in exchange for a couple of things. Like, he wanted the eyes of Metroplex, and he wanted to be connected to Cybertron, because that was going to be his new body. And if I remember correctly, at the end of that episode, Starscream lost control over the body he was possessing, convinced Unicron to give him back his own body. And when Unicron is like, well, finish the connection to Cybertron, and Starscream's like, yeah, do it yourself. And he takes off and runs right into Galvatron. Was that Starscream? So, but yeah, so we did gloss over some stuff from the movie, but, you know, for anyone who hasn't seen it, go watch it. And after that, I kind of stopped following Transformers. I never even saw the Headmaster cartoon. And by the time the 90s rolled around, I was done.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that Transformers fizzled out before G.I. Joe, because we didn't talk about it that much in that part, but G.I. Joe kept going in a different series produced by another company called Deke, who also did Inspector Gadget, Kid Video, and a lot of other stuff, and Captain N, of course.
Oh yeah.
But Transformers, in America, after they did that mini series with the Headmasters and the Target Masters, and after that it was just done.
Mm-hmm. It was like poof. Gone.
Your voice is kind of fading in and out here.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. The connection appears to be pretty stable. But we're getting close to the end of this thing anyway. So, but yeah, it's, and of course, by the time the 90s rolled around, all this stuff was pretty much a memory as far as the shows. They were all gone.
They would pop up again on air as a show called Transformers Generation 2 when they brought the toy line back with some different paint decorations. You know, they did some different stuff with them. Some had, I think some of the mini cars had vac metal finish on them. Some of the figures they brought back had different color schemes or different decos on them.
Kind of like they they do that with G.I. Joe too, didn't they?
Well, G.I. Joe actually just kept running for that time. They didn't finish up until much later. But with Transformers, they brought back those figures, and then they also brought back the cartoon in a show called Transformers Generation 2, where they put CGI frames and transitions over some parts of the cartoon that kind of got in the way, but most of us were just happy that Transformers were back on the air again.
See, I missed that pretty much completely. I remember seeing part of it on TV once and going, the hell?
Yeah, because it had a CGI. It had a CGI intro that was built from stuff that they made for the commercials for the new toy line. It was Optimus going up against the Starscream, and then that's where Megatron got his first tank form.
Oh, okay.
Instead of the pistol, he was a tank, which it made sense because he was a vehicle. They didn't have to worry about it, whatever size changing wrinkles people were complaining about or worrying about. He was just a tank, so he used something that could go actually more than go up against Optimus Prime.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta address something Sharon said here real quick. We don't speak of most of those movies, Sharon. As far as I'm concerned, there's still only one. But if you're talking about anything Bayformers related, which would be Michael Bay's Transformers, just no. No. Also no. Did I mention no?
Still very.
Plus, there's there's one thing I want to add, and that's no.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also no.
Yeah, let's not forget no now.
There's just one thing I want to add because I'm still here somehow, but I might as well say
you've been listening.
I'm very proud. I have never seen a Bayformers film, and I still don't intend to ever. So
yeah, don't
go me.
don't waste your time. I saw the first one, and I thought, okay, it's a summer film that just happens to have transforming robots in it, but whatever. The second one was just a train wreck. And that's all I'm even gonna say about it. It was a real it almost failed at being a series of moving pictures.
That's bad. But I remember seeing the designs for the Transformers. They looked like giant walking junk piles, basically.
They do, and they look like that in motion.
I believe it. It hurts my head.
The one that you do want to see are the ones after Michael Bay's done with them. Specifically, you want to see Bumblebee because in the beginning there's a part on Cybertron, and they finally look like the Transformers.
About time.
Yeah, I've heard that is actually a surprisingly good film. I've never gotten around to it yet.
What about that other one, Transformers 1?
I haven't seen that, but I've heard people say that was pretty good. There's a lot of stuff I still haven't gotten around to, but I heard people like Transformers 1. The box office wasn't good enough for the studio, but I still heard it was good.
But that does bring in mind something else from the original series. There's 2 more episodes in particular I want to talk about. One was the episode where the aerial bots are thrown back in time, and they encounter Orion Pax. And, let's just say the aerial bots are kind of directly responsible for the creation of Optimus Prime. Not to mention Elita 1.
Yeah, we got a paradox going on here.
Uh-huh. And Megatron set the whole thing in motion himself.
And the whole thing seemed like it was kind of a way to try and say, hey, we know Hot Rod slash Rodimus was kind of a screw up, but hey, so was Optimus. Everybody starts out like this, so hey, everybody give Hot Rod a chance.
Yep.
Please buy his toy.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, that was... I currently own 2 Transformers. Both more recent ones. One, if you know me, I own for obvious reasons, because it is the Transformers Back to the Future crossover.
Yeah, I kind of figured you'd have to get that.
Oh, yeah. But the other one is the... it's Hot Rod in his Transformers movie colors. I found that on eBay. It was cheap. I said, what the hell? I always regret having gotten rid of that toy. So, in a way, I've got it back.
And it's funny that the whole point of the movie was, well, not the whole point. I mean, they made it to try and entertain people, but part of the point was all your old toys are dead. Please buy these new ones.
Yeah.
And a lot of the new Transformers were not great.
Mm-mm.
But Hot Rod was. Hot Rod was probably my favorite out of all of them. The Rodimus Prime just didn't look good, but I had Hot Rod and I had Cup. And both of those were great figures. The rest of them,
well, I can tell you the ones I had, just thinking back on them right now, I had Hot Rod, I had Rodimus Prime, Ultra Magnus, Cup, Blur, and Galvatron, and a Sharkticon. And they ranged, basically, from really good to not so great.
Yeah, I had Ultra Magnus, but I don't count him because he wasn't made for the movie specifically. I mean, he started off, I guess he was, Diaclone?
Yeah.
I think it was a Diaclone figure first in Japan, and then they just made the Ultra Magnus character around it.
Yeah, which they introduced in that Japanese-only Scramble City.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I always counted him amongst those figures simply because our first introduction to him here was in the movie.
Yeah. I should be more specific and say the figures that were made specifically for the movie are the ones that kind of range in quality. But I think Hot Rod was my favorite out of all of them.
Oh yeah, he was definitely mine. I sold off quite a few of my Transformers in the mid-90s. A couple friends bought them, a couple of collectible stores bought them. Not they were in the greatest shape, keep in mind, but the one I kept was Hot Rod. Because, again, kind of funny story about that. I remember it must have been Christmas '87, and I knew that there was a new version of Hot Rod out, which was just Hot Rod with a transforming gun, the Target Master version. And I could never find the original one anywhere, but I told my parents I really want Hot Rod. So now my brother Ryan told me that they did in fact find it. He was with them when they did. So come Christmas morning, I open presents, and there's no sign of Hot Rod at all. So I figured, well, he was screwing with me. Now, I also did get my second most requested present, though. So that was Mega Mania for the 2600.
Oh.
So that was some consolation. But, so everything's said and done, and all of a sudden, my father's like, oh, yeah, we found another present for you. I rip it open. It's Hot Rod. So I kept him around until the event that I've called the Great Crash. It wasn't just video games that went. But yeah, he's such a good figure. The other episode I wanted to bring up, though, was one that establishes a definite link between Transformers and one other Hasbro series. You know the one I'm talking about.
Know what you're about to talk about.
Yep.
I do.
Why can I not remember the name of that episode?
Old something.
It's Old Soldiers something. I feel bad because I just watched it days ago.
Basically, it involves the Transformers, and they're going up against this human criminal for whatever reason. I forget. And he's got an ace in the hole. He's got someone he refers to as Old Snake working for him. For money, of course. And at one point, he asks, like, the organization you used to run, you got this technology to create synthetic beings, right? And at this point, if you're watching it, it's pretty glaringly obvious who Old Snake is. Considering his face is basically just a shiny mask, and he kind of talks with an exaggerated hiss. And what they do is they take the life essence or brains or whatever out of Hot Rod, Ultra Magnus, RC, and Springer, and transfer them into synthezoids, and which leaves the original bodies as tools to be used by the criminals. Long story short, they eventually reverse the process, and the dude is arrested. As you see him being taken away by the cops, there's Old Snake walking down the road. He's got a trench coat, big floppy hat, and all that. And
the episode was called Only Human.
That's it. Only Human. But so as this guy Drath is being taken away by the cops, Old Snake's walking along, and he's like, "Poor Mr. Drath. They just don't make terrorists like they used to." And you see a shot of him at the very end. He raises up his arms and she goes, "Cobra!" So yeah, it was Cobra Commander. Officially,
and not to mention,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was say officially establishing another link between GI Joe and Transformers besides that reporter guy.
Yeah, and also one of the human characters that's been in the cartoon, Marissa Fairborn. Her last name is the same file name as Flint from G.I. Joe. And at a certain point, you do see an elderly man that looks like Flint that she's talking to with the same voice actor.
Yeah.
So there's like, and I think she shows up in Only Human, doesn't she?
I
can't remember.
No, I don't think
because there was one where I remember. Yeah, I remember there was an episode where she goes up against a criminal, there's a criminal, a human criminal.
I know that,
and that's where I remember seeing her the most.
The woman in that episode ends up betraying Rodimus, so I don't think that's her. I'm pretty sure it's in a different.
Oh no, not that character. Yeah, not that character.
I don't remember a good woman character in that episode though. Just the Drath's associate. So, I think that means that Flint, once he and Lady J were through with their tenure in G.I. Joe, got married and had a daughter?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it looks.
Well, that's good, establishing another connection like that. Although, why would they have aged so much in just, 20 years? That's my only question.
I don't know, but that is for kids, so kids think that grown-ups are super old, so
that's a good point.
Kind of age them more. You kind of, it's kind of like the Aunt May conundrum.
Yeah.
That's if that's Peter Parker's parents' sister, why is she that old and he that young? But that's how younger people see older people. If somebody says they're 30, they expect them to look like, I don't know, Mr. Burns hunched over.
Yeah, pretty much. On a side note, did you ever notice that the theatrical versions of Aunt May just got younger and hotter as the different Spider-Man series went on?
Yep.
Or how did Tony Stark put it? Yeah, you're very attractive aunt, or something like that. But anyway, I think that basically wraps everything up here with cartoons. Yeah, sure, there was a whole bunch we could have talked about, but then we would have had like a multi-part stream.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, there's
everybody's voices would have given out like mine's trying to do right now.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we could have talked about Filmation's Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters, besides just the little mention we gave him. Silverhawks would have been another one.
Yep. Inhumanoids.
Brave Star.
Yeah, definitely Brave Star. That was a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I saw, right.
And there was one other big one, too, that I remember watching at the time. I just can't seem to remember if we mentioned it or not. Oh, we barely even dived into the world of Saturday morning cartoons.
Seriously. We most of the stuff we were talking about was syndicated.
Yeah, we could split this off and do an entire stream devoted to 80s video game cartoons. Yeah, talk about the Saturday Supercade, Pac-Man, Pole Position, Dragon's Lair, all that good stuff.
Yeah. And I kind of suspected that because we didn't really talk about Saturday Supercade much, and this is mostly a video game affair. And so I kind of suspected maybe you were thinking about, doing a spin-off of this.
We might at some point. We're going to give the cartoons a rest for a while. Well, the 80s cartoons, I should say. Because most likely next Saturday, cause we've actually got so many stream ideas and they're all backed up that we're starting to do them once a week now. So more than likely, our next stream in a week is going to be about the wild and wacky world of Homestar Runner.
Yay.
And we'll be back to our regular time, too, so. Come on, Mike. Sum up a little more enthusiasm. Just a little.
I've been really tired all day and it's late, but I fucking love Homestar Runner and I'm really looking forward to that next week, I assure you.
And then the week after that, we are planning on a stream in which we'll be talking about the greatest band in the history of forever, otherwise known as Rush.
Yep.
And we have other ones coming too. We still have an Evil Dead stream planned. And there was one I was thinking about earlier, which I can't even remember what I was thinking about now. But yeah, there's lots more to come. And unless something sidetracks me completely, you'll be hearing from us.
Looking forward to it wherever we go.
Yep. So I would say that until then, we should go ahead and sign off and let everyone get some sleep and stuff. I got work to do tomorrow, so.
Thanks for inviting me to be on this so I can ramble about G.I. Joe and the Spider-Man show last week. And like I said, I'm not used to doing this, so sorry for, rambling and, getting hung like I got hung up here trying to, just trying to explain that I'm not used to the format or even talking on a show like this. So thanks for letting me on to stink up the joint.
Please. You didn't stink up the joint any worse than we did.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, just remember, we always or at least do our damn best to run a laid-back stream, and we just talk.
But it was fun talking with you. It was fun talking with all of you about it, though. That was the fun part, and
Definitely.
getting to hear how everybody encountered these shows, because most of us did it in a different way. Because, like I said before, I saw the G.I. Joe and Transformer toys before I saw the cartoon. So, I saw it before Rumble and Frenzy's names got switched.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was, and just finding out about some of the stuff I didn't know about, like, as much as I didn't like it, finding out about dinosaurs was definitely interesting.
Yeah, and it does have a great intro to it.
Yeah, I'll give it that, yes.
Yep, it's pretty great.
So, and of course, thanks to Jay and Snarb for being here for the majority of these two streams as well.
Hope you two get better soon.
Yeah, well, Snarb didn't leave because of illness. He had to leave to go take care of some personal business.
Okay.
Jay, though, he needs to get better because he's going to be joining us on the Rush stream. And, if we find another subject that you're interested in being a part of here, Prime, then definitely let me know.
Okay, thanks. I'll try to jump in there. And thank you for showing up, Sharon. Good to see you in the chat again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, yes, the Rush stream. You can partially thank me for that.
Or like you wouldn't be the first suspect.
Well, between myself and our older brother. That's how she got into Rush. Though there were a couple of... We'll talk about that later. Anyway. Oh, and as always, my books still are on sale. Link in the description below. Someone buy some books. I need money. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and bid you have a fun.
Yep. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Yep. Good night.